All right, guys. So somebody had sent me this video the other day. They asked me to watch it. It is DSP Gaming, DarkSydePhil, a comprehensive documentary by Alchemist, Alkor. So I figured, hey, let's give it a watch. It looks like a good watch. DSP's an interesting guy. He's another, I believe, a lol cow. So in the same way as like Boogie 2988, Wings of Redemption, and soon to be Papa God, of course. So let's get this going.
Hello everyone, DSP here. But you're probably shocked that we're finally meeting face to face, although you...
His name, he looks like, sorry, his name looks like it would be Rocco, right? Or is that just me thinking that? Because it kind of feels that way.
Kind of look like my camera a lot. But anyway, just kind of wanted to throw this out there. I know...
The more things change, the more they stay the same. These words will echo through your mind as we take a look at one of the most infamous online personalities, Phil Burnell, better known as DarkSydePhil, or DSP for short, one of the original YouTube Let's Players who has earned a notorious reputation over the years. His online career is well documented, with thousands of hours of video footage and numerous forums discussing his internet activity. In fact, many communities have been created with the sole purpose of documenting Phil's abnormal life and unorthodox behavior. Try to see this video as something of a journey, as we take a look at over a decade of Phil's work and life on YouTube, from a complete nobody to the creation of an empty empire on which he currently stands. This is DarkSydePhil.
Well, let's just hope that song wasn't DMC.
There is just something interesting in watching a good trash fire. It is not that hard to conclude that watching other people fight or ruin their lives from a safe distance is something of an engaging activity. Thankfully, in this regard, we have the internet, and from this tumultuous cyberspace, many interesting personalities came to the spotlight. Many so-called lol cows became popular. If you don't know, a lol cow is someone who is famous for all the wrong reasons. This is usually because of their questionable life decisions and uncanny conduct. As you might guess, individuals like this stay relevant for the sole purpose of being laughed at, usually with them being unaware of this situation. And one of these people is Phil Burnell, a man with quite an extensive internet legacy, with over...
But hey, I guess he's still getting paid, am I right? I guess that's the whole thing. So...
56,000 videos on his main channel. He is quite established in the YouTube fabric, whether we want to admit this or not. But the reputation that he has garnered over the years might not be the one he expected, because it is not that hard to find entire groups of people that are dedicated to trolling and documenting his enterprise. Damn. These are the people Phil calls his detractors, and you will see me use this term throughout this video. If you don't know the entire story, you might be wondering how this came to be. How did this innocent-looking gentleman gain such a notoriety? Just try to look up this person on one of the forums like Kiwi Farms, and there will be a plethora of articles, posts, and comments talking about anything and everything concerning DSP. This guy is more documented than some historical figures, but even with this
well, excuse me, not quite as well documented as Christian Weston Chandler. Okay, all right, we've watched 65 episodes of the comprehensive history. I gotta finish it. I know I gotta do more episodes. It's just like such a burnout to do all of them. It's crazy.
Spotlight, I have noticed that no one has recently made any intricate documentary explaining everything that DSP has been up to all these years. The most popular one I can think of is the Down the Rabbit Hole video by Frederick. And
I might have watched that. I don't remember exactly. It was pretty good. I feel like the controversy for DSP was kind of overblown. It was just some dude that was like getting upset that people were trolling him, and like it just took off. And that's the problem. You can't be upset when it comes to trolls, man. You just got to do your best not to give a fuck, because they'll eat you alive.
And although the said video is amazing, it was released 5 years ago. There was so much that has happened after that, so I have decided to do some research on this topic and condense everything into this single experience, giving you everything you should know about Phil and his shenanigans until this point in time. We have so much to cover, so make yourself comfortable. Naturally, if you want to discuss the present, let's first take a look at the past. Most of the people are already familiar with this section of Phil's life, but we can't talk about the man without discussing his origins, so let's get that out of the way first.
What's that?
Alright, we got the man of all hate, the one and only DSP. DarkSydePhil. I call him Phil, because Phil's cool. Anyhow, Phil, how you feel about SC?
Phil first came to the public's eye in the early 2000s as a Street Fighter competitor. During his early days, he saw little success, but that is not as important as other observations you might have of him. It seemed like Phil Burnell was destined for a life of crime from the very—
Wait, was he the guy who was playing like a broken character, and then he like thought he was really good, and he was like, is that the guy who we're talking about? He played like a fucking broken-ass character, and then he would act like he was a fucking like good at the game. Is that right what it was?
Very beginning.
And then he would talk a lot of shit, but he actually kind of sucked.
because his grudging behavior was noticed very early. On the internet, he would talk massive amounts of shit, whether it be downgrading the skills of his fellow competitors or showcasing his massive ego. His actions were so bad that they almost provoked a physical confrontation at one of the events. Jaha, one of the other fighter competitors, was tired of Phil's constant trash talk, so he rounded up a few of his buffed friends and confronted Phil outside of the building where one of the tournaments was being held. The following is what apparently happened.
There's no way.
The reason we fucking had to run him down, and this happened fucking twice, is because the guy likes to talk a lot of shit on the internet. And the fucking beauty of the fighting game community is that, you know, you can hide behind a fucking screen and talk shit just like how we have these internet trolls. But with Street Fighter, you have to show up physically to the fucking tournament.
Exactly.
Alright, so, you know, everybody comes from fucking different places, different backgrounds. So, when DSP was leaving with, like, him and a couple of his boys, it was, that's when it was time to, like, roll up on him. We followed him outside, we caught him outside. And I'm there with my freaking JVC kaboom box and shit, 'cause that's how I rolled and stuff. And I was with a couple of my fucking boys, and they were getting up in, like, you know, DSP's fucking friends' faces too, just to fucking make sure none of them got crazy, but they were all fucking shitting bricks. And I'm fucking getting up in his face, asking why the fuck he's talking shit, and what the fuck's his problem, and he's fucking just, you know, just fucking cowering and all fucking scared, and him and his friends are trying to fucking leave, and we're not letting them, and then,
Jesus
you know,
Christ.
I pretty much, make a long story short, I pretty much just fucking told him, hey, you fucking lost one match, you're gonna fucking pay him fucking $10.
Due to the amount of times Jaha said fucking, I would guess that he either sniffed glue as a child or he really has a limited vocabulary. Either way, we did get the point of the story. Unlike his tough internet persona, when confronted in real life, Phil wasn't so keen on tossing insults. This is a common scenario for many internet tough guys, but it looks like...
yeah, I mean, like, people will talk a lot of shit on the internet, and then they won't really say it in the real world. Because, I mean, bro, I don't know why people talk so much shit on the internet. Because it'll get you hit in the real world, man. Like, it's fucking crazy. People really are very performative online.
Like the risk of physical violence wasn't enough to deter him in his behavior. The most troubling aspect of his personality was the obvious superiority complex, which he never backed up by actually proving his skill. His talk was usually much bigger than his walk. Phil's poor performance and attitude towards fighting games didn't help the matter, because he never believed his failure was due to his own actions, but rather the fault of some random superficial events that put him at a disadvantage. This behavior will be important to us later.
Hey, that's how it always is. When I lose a game, it's never because of me, guys. It's always the other team. Somebody's a smurf, or someone on my team is not pulling their weight. That's just the truth. And if you don't believe me, then you are just you don't get it.
If you watched any of his interviews or posts during this time, it was easy to see that Phil hates pretty much anyone and anything, and his conduct reflected that. Everyone in the community and the outside took notice of this. His rage was so recognizable that he even got a nickname, the King of Hate, which he later embraced. It seemed like nothing...
the King of Hate. A very clever nickname, guys. Very clever.
Would ever make him question his actions, because he always had the ego of a man who was on his way to the top, and nowhere was this more clear than in the Evolution Championship Series of 2005. The Evolution Champion Series, or EVO for short, was something of a tournament for various fighting games. Phil naturally joined this competition because one of the games featured was Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, but the tournament used a special version of the game that was ported from the arcades to the PlayStation. The main problem with this little detail was that this version of the game was considered highly unbalanced, among other things. This led to many professional Street Fighter competitors to boycott the tournament, which meant that the talent pool for this particular segment of the contest was very small, and one of the people in that pool was Phil himself. He entered the competition and even managed to reach 4th place in the championship, behind 3 Japanese players. With this victory, Phil proclaimed himself as the best Street Fighter 2 Turbo player in North America, a title many in the street fighting community had an issue with.
You got some idiot named DSP who's a total piece of shit, by the way. I like to get that on YouTube. But
oh my god!
But this guy thought he was hot shit because he beat me and Choi in a game that was like, it's like fucking Neo Geo conversion of Street Fighter or some crap, dude. and he was so proud that he put under as a signature, he's the #1 U.S. ranked Super Turbo player that year. But I mean, look at him now.
These delusions of grandeur contributed to even greater mockery from the public and fellow competitors, as pride blinded Phil from seeing the true value of his success. But maybe it was more apparent to him after a few more years of competing with minimal results. Whether he became aware of his shortcomings in the end is irrelevant to us now. What is important is what happened in 2007.
What happened? Probably gonna have to restart this game. I'm not gonna see. It's just not gonna go well.
6 years later, so I would be 16.
As far as I can tell, you're a perfectly healthy 16-year-old boy. So yeah,
On YouTube, which was a relatively new site at the time, Phil started posting Let's Play videos on his newly created channel called DarkSydePhil, and considering the fact that he was one of the first people to do this, he quickly gained a large following. The quality of these early videos was as good as you might expect, with Phil not using a capture card to record the gameplay, but rather recording his television screen with the camera and then posting the raw footage on YouTube.
I think that's just how it was back then. Like, you just had no other fucking choice, you know? Like, you had to do shit like that. Yeah, that's just because the technology was limited as fuck.
You can't really blame him that much, since YouTube content in those days was minuscule in terms of quality, and Mr. Burnell was far from being the worst at the time. But looking at this footage now, it was really bad. Never mind the fact that it's hard to see what is going on, the viewers found it difficult to listen to Phil's commentary, which was combined with a million other sounds happening in the same room.
The foot, that's what it says here, or scream for help, medicate the area, or restrain the patient and merely observe as the infection spreads. Nope, I'd amputate the foot.
Unlike today, where everyone and their dog wants to have a successful Let's Play YouTube channel, back then the viewer's choice was very limited, which meant that it didn't matter how bad the quality of the content was. With the rise in popularity, Phil also created another channel called The King of Hate, where he would post vlogs and updates about his work. It was here that he also created the infamous DSP Tries It series, where he reviewed drink, food and other accessories. However, his newfound fame came at a cost. In 2010, someone at Ubisoft complained about DarkSydePhil's gameplay of Splinter Cell Conviction, prompting YouTube to shut down his channel in order to avoid any potential lawsuits. Later, it was found out—
Was that back when, like, they would complain about anybody, like, playing anything? Like, they would— I think that's what it was. Like, they thought it was some kind of, like, a risk to their fucking livelihoods, even though it was actually, like, the opposite, and it was helping these companies get exposure for video games.
Out that Ubisoft didn't make any claim, rather it was the work of some anonymous internet user, but when people found out about this, the damage was already done. Having had his channel shut down, Phil created a new one called DSP Gaming, which he uses until this very day.
I used to have a channel on YouTube called DarkSydePhil, extremely popular, had over 76 million views, had just about to hit 60,000 subscribers, and then YouTube shut me down. They didn't give me any reason why. They basically just completely shut me down. They won't let me log back in. They won't give me a chance to get reinstated, so to hell with it.
The unfortunate situation with Ubisoft has shown Phil just how vulnerable he is to these kinds of attacks.
It's kind of sad though, because, like, imagine like this wasn't the case. You know, like, imagine it wasn't the case back then. He might be like exponentially more successful. You know what I mean? Like, the culture back then just did not support what he was doing. I'm gonna lose this. We're just gonna restart.
So he came out with a plan to create a lot of channels for various Let's Plays. By doing so, he could post gameplay on many sources with no connection to the main channel. Obviously, this was done in an attempt to protect his new channel from future attacks by creating proxies. But this incident with Ubisoft wouldn't be the worst thing to happen to him that year, because in 2010, Phil also lost his job at the helicopter company where he worked at for many years. Broke and with no way to financially support himself, Phil has decided to take advantage of his newfound celebrity status and decided to become a full-time YouTuber, a very risky decision at the time. The first step was to sign up.
Did he say
and with no way to attend, Phil always, but this incident with Ubisoft wouldn't in an attempt to protect his new channel from with no way to finance. Phil also lost his job at the helicopter company where he worked at.
What the hell was he doing at a helicopter company? What the fuck? Okay.
First step was to sign up for a Google AdSense account so he could monetize his fame. The process of getting a paycheck this way was quite straightforward. You were paid based on how many people saw and interacted with the ads in your videos. Phil understood this concept and went on to do the worst possible thing he could do. He started encouraging more interaction with ads on his videos. If Phil had spent more time studying Google AdSense terms, he would have realized that requesting users to click on ads was prohibited, and this huge blunder would have resulted in Google canceling his AdSense.
What a dumbass. That's so sad. I mean, like, you know, first of all, let's be real. Who's gonna fucking read? Who's gonna read that? Who's gonna, like, read that, like, the Google AdSense, like, terms of service? I never even, like, knew that. You know what I mean? Like, who's gonna sit down and do that? But, like, second of all, I think the reason why people don't do that is because it's usually seen as kind of like a shitty move to be like, guys, please watch my ads. You know what I mean? Like, instead of, you know, begging people to watch ads instead of, you know, like, actually making the decent content. It's just a misstep from him. He just shouldn't have done that.
Account. This created a very bad situation, since now Phil was left with no job, no ads on his videos, and most importantly, no way to make money. He did try to post his content on Bleep TV, which was something of a media platform for web content, similar to YouTube. Here, he did gain some success, but Bleep TV was also the place where Phil created one of his most infamous videos. While playing Dead Space 2, DSP made some unsavory comments towards Jewish people.
This is what happens when you let the Jews do whatever they want. You've let the Jews overrun space, and now look at this. Their greed has had the artifact turn everyone into necromorphs. So now I, the last remaining Nazi, must exterminate them. Hello, Jew.
Did you think that was in poor taste? Well, Bleep
Yeah.
TV sure as shit did. So he got served yet another ban, and considering the fact that he still had an
This is Jesus Christ. The fucking edginess, man. Oh my lord.
AdSense account revoked on YouTube, it seemed like Phil
Do
was
YouTube Premium users still contribute to your ad money? Yeah, they do. So I have YouTube Premium. And I that's what I use because I don't like to bypass ads. So yeah, actually, it's arguably better than people who watch ads because I get, regardless of whether my video is demonetized or not. Like, okay, so very quickly, if all my videos obviously go through a monetization process, they either get like a green check mark, a yellow, and sometimes like a red if there's like a copyright thing, which is very rare. Even if I get a yellow, YouTube people with premium memberships still contribute like money to the thing. That's the cool part about it. So yeah, I would encourage you to get it also because it's like a better way to do ad free, even if you don't watch my content. Like, I feel like it's just better to operate like that. I feel like it's just better to operate like that, honestly. In general, just for your instead of like ad blocking. Some people ad block. It's just a better experience overall for the creator, regardless of who it is, to be able to like get some of the ad money that they deserve. Creators make content, you know, or you could just skip the ad after like 5 seconds. It's not like a huge, you know, thing that you have to do. Yeah.
stuck dead in water. Everywhere he turned, life would strike him down. Well,
Damn.
life striking him down would be a bad term, since it seemed like Phil was always striking himself down because of his poor decisions. People say that there isn't bigger fortune than a fool's fortune, and so a saving grace came from the heavens to give Phil a helping hand. In 2011, Machinima, a company despised by many today for its awful and extortionate practices, reached out to Phil for a contract. Machinima's business worked something like this. The company would contract many creators, and by doing so they would be promoted on their platform. Not only that, but Machinima also offered a substantial protection to its members in the event of copyright strikes by small or large creators. This was a big deal for Phil, because he would use Machinima's AdSense account on his videos, which meant that he was finally getting the income he desperately needed, as well as the much needed protection to prevent the story.
Wait, so is that how it worked? That they had, okay, because it's so hard to get like an accurate, I guess, like answer about it. I had always thought that there was no availability of AdSense, and that's when that's where Machinima's like stepped in. But what it actually is that there was an AdSense account, but they just like let you utilize their AdSense. Is that how it is? Okay, interesting. Why would anybody take the deal with Machinima then? Like, what's the point? Oh, I guess for like the advertising. Okay, I guess because it's like, oh, this is DSP. Watch his videos here. Blah 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 blah. I guess that makes sense. Interesting. Okay.
With Ubisoft from ever happening again. Phil would be with Machinima for many years, enjoying one of the best deals in a company where almost everyone seemed to be getting screwed over. Even though he got a pay cut from them later that year, which was probably the result of his low viewership, Phil still had a way to monetize his work on YouTube, while getting protection from the big name. If you are a fan of mythological heroes, I think you would agree that every hero needs their own fair maid, a life companion to help them on the
So wait, how did it work? Did they just pay you a flat amount regardless of how many views you brought in? Like, that seems like shitty for the content creators who don't do as well. Or content creators who do really well, rather. You know what I mean? It's like if you're like a smaller creator, but you do really well, you're not going to get paid the ad revenue that you deserve. Yeah.
their journey. And so in 2012, our dear YouTuber introduced his new girlfriend to the world, a woman called Leanne, aka Panda Lee. Phil's
She looks like she was paid to be there. What the fuck? What's going on there?
happiness was hard to hide at the time, but I don't know how long that happiness lasted when people started asking some disturbing questions regarding this relationship. First and foremost, Panda Lee was 11 years younger than Phil. This on its own would not be so bad until you consider the fact that they announced their relationship right after she turned 18. This sparked a rumor that still stains Phil's name and reputation to this very day, because many people believe that this union started way before Panda Lee became an adult. Panda Lee would be a big part of Phil's future content that didn't involve gaming. She showed up a lot in the vlog videos and posts that Phil shared on social media. She became part of the DSP enterprise whether she liked it or not. However, the accusations of underage dating would be just the tip of the iceberg when DSP is involved.
The only people who say that working on YouTube full-time is stress-free are people who don't work on YouTube full-time, and they probably want to, and they're jealous of people who do. Oh my god, now I'm getting pissed! Fuck this guy! I'm stuck in place again!
I mean, YouTube isn't stress-free. There can be stressors. Like, it can be an inconsistent job. It's just, if you're reasonably successful, it's infinitely better than working a regular job, you know?
I can't fucking move, dude. What the fuck is wrong with this shit, man? I pressed jump. I'm getting pissed with this fucking shit. I pressed fucking jump. It's hard. It's hard to wake up on time.
Wait, DSP's in a cowboy hat era. Does that mean that like I'm in a fucking hat era too? And like my downfalls? Oh fuck, dude, I'm fucked soon.
Every day to play 8 hours of games some days. Like nothing's happening. Pressing 3. Work, piece of shit. And then to be dedicated enough to put that footage on my computer, to set up the uploads, to babysit the uploads, to make sure that they work properly, which they don't always work properly. Fuck, man. Fuck.
The reasoning behind his nickname, the King of Hate, became more apparent as the days passed. As you might recall, I did mention a pay cut from Machinima and a loss in viewership. If you wonder how that happened, here is the probable reason. Let's start with the fact that he refused to upgrade to a capture card, meaning that he still preferred to record his gameplay with the camera pointed at the TV. Keep in mind that we are reaching the end of 2012. As far as technical aspects are concerned, Phil was left in the dust by other creators years ago, and still he refused to modernize. It also didn't help that Phil had a very toxic attitude during gaming. Every death and every mistake that Phil ever made were apparently not his fault, but rather the fault of game designers and or developers. This type of behavior was seen during—
That could be funny though. That could be funny to hear somebody complain and like blame everything else but themselves in the game. But yeah, I think that the biggest issue is the fact that this stupid motherfucker wasn't just getting a capture card. What a moron.
his Street Fighter days, but at this point in time it became something of a trademark for his personality.
I just want you to see what it says.
It would be good to mention that Phil was also very bad at video games, and I know it's ironic to be awful at something you dedicated your life to, but here we are. With this, you might get an idea why the views started to decline on his channel, but where some people became disconnected with this combination of bad attitude and skill, others became attached. It made some people realize that making fun of Phil's content was much more enjoyable than unironically watching it. And the man who was a pioneer in this new movement that was focused on making a mockery of Phil's career was a gentleman called Evil AJ 2010. His very first video on the subject was called "This is how you don't play Metal Gear Solid 2. The said video was very simple in its format. Evil AJ made a montage of the worst parts of Phil's gameplay in Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty and added comments from users that mocked Phil to oblivion for his conduct and awful gameplay. The video spread like wildfire, mostly because it was an astonishing example of Phil's terrible performance. It was also every bit as funny. To say that this format blew up would be an understatement. It became so popular that almost every organism on the planet wanted to publish their own take on Phil's saga with their own "This is how you don't play" video. They were incredibly simple and hilarious, showing just how much of a caricature Phil is when it comes to his hobby and work. The problem was that these videos became so recognizable that they overshadowed Phil's actual content. Some of the best videos I have seen on this platform have come from these montages. How could we forget the absolute coma-inducing cringe that is "This is how you don't play Dark Souls." Phil constantly ignores instructions that the game gives him. If you didn't know any better, you might have thought that this was the work of a troll.
Oh, you have to click them together like a button. And it barely works. Yeah, but it doesn't really work at all. I'm trying to do jump attack, I'm not getting it at all. I'm not getting kick either. Ah, that's good. It's always good when a game with unforgiving difficulty has a control scheme that doesn't work.
Yes, DSP Gaming legitimately thinks that the instructions that the developers of a AAA video game left for the player are wrong and are giving misleading information, rather than him not understanding the said instructions and making a complete jackass out of himself.
I mean, listen, bro. Sometimes the game cheats, all right? Let's just be honest. Sometimes the game cheats, and it's not your fault. It's everyone else's fault but your own. It's a real thing, guys. If you don't know that, then, you know, you're a sussy. But, bro, how can you complain about everything about a game? I mean, Jesus Christ. Those games are just hard. I never played them because I don't like hard games.
Oh wait, I thought of another one. Did you ever saw "This is how you don't play Fallout New Vegas"? The absolute shitshow of this gameplay starts at the very beginning. Let's start with the fact that Phil is one of those people that takes the time out of their day to customize a video game character to match their own appearance. People like this used to get shoved into high school lockers, but the problem here is that Phil is a grown man, so take out of that what you will. The charade continues seconds later when he is supposed to customize his skills. This is important because it determines what kind of a character you want to have, which directly influences the gameplay.
I hate games
Since
like
DSP
that,
obviously doesn't understand the RPG mechanics of Fallout or any other game for that matter, he chooses to mostly upgrade his strength and then continues to play with the small guns for most of the playthrough, where strength gives him no benefits. There is nothing to say here, the jokes literally write themselves.
Alright, I'm really hoping that my companions don't give me away. The Stealth Boy works on them too. God damn it!
Of course, Stealth Boy will not work on your companions, Phil, so you should have told them to stay outside. And let us not forget, the one and only "This is how you don't play Black Mesa." This is, to my understanding, one of the most popular montages in this format. It is almost unbelievable that this footage came from Phil himself, that he actually posted this instead of deleting it out of shame.
It's definitely the right way. Just kinda, whoa, what the hell? Did you see that? The bookshelf disappeared. What the shit?
You know what's so interesting about that Black Mesa game? So I bought that, and I used to have like kind of a shitty computer, and I couldn't really play it too well. But I remember that's when I was playing that game when I like first started talking to my wife on Tinder. Oh, well, she wasn't my wife at the point, obviously, but like, isn't that crazy? No, that was fucking crazy. I remember playing that game. I was like, damn, this is hard. My computer was bugging out and glitching out and shit. It's crazy shit, man. Now look at where we are now. Yeah. I should probably replay that game, huh? Damn. Damn.
Oh, here goes. Geronimo! It says it's loading. What am I supposed to do then?
That's me, though. That's how I would answer. This is exactly how I would play games, though. This is the problem. Like, I'm embarrassed. This is how I play games. I suck at video games. Yeah, we are the same.
No, I'm supposed to do that, huh?
But I guess I'm not really a gaming channel. I just game to, like...
As far as I know, DSP did not undergo premature lobotomization, but rather he still somehow didn't figure out how crouch jumping works. But the trend of ridiculing Phil's content didn't stop at his gameplay. On his vlog channel, the series that I mentioned earlier called DSP Tries It also garnered attention in the form of mock videos, such as DSP Tries It Bullying and DSP Tries It Being Broke. As you might guess, Phil himself had an issue with this new trend, because these videos were so popular they eclipsed his own channel, and their entire existence was dedicated to mocking DSP.
I'm actually pretty good at balloons, alright? Alright, so I'm okay at it. I'm mid. Yeah, I don't pretend I'm great at all. I've been trying to learn this game, though. Trying to learn the meta and stuff. You know?
Attempted to copy-strike them all into oblivion, as any butthurt YouTuber would. It worked to some degree at first, but soon it was obvious that this was not going to help. The best way I can summarize why is by saying this: cut one of Hydra's heads and two will take its place. A perfect metaphor for this situation, since
yeah, it's one of those things where it's like the Streisand effect. The only time I've ever like DMCA'd somebody is when they've literally re-uploaded my video. Like it was a conversation with Def Noodles. They just uploaded it. I was like, I have the whole thing uploaded. It's weird that you just re-uploaded it with nothing. Like, that's you know, react to it, be my guess. I don't give a shit, but it's like, you're just gonna re-upload the entire video without any changes to it? It's weird.
The uploads of terminated videos would always show up in massive numbers. The recent infamy was proven quite troublesome for Phil, since now he was looked down upon by most of the community. He did try to ease the flames a bit, so in 2013 he finally upgraded to a capture card, but not even that was enough to stop the hate train. This was also the time when he first started to stream on Twitch, a completely new site at the time. Streaming has been proven to be quite troublesome for a number of reasons. Unlike recorded videos that you make in peace, when doing live streaming you have less control over what you want your audience to see. This also meant that interaction with the chat was inevitable, meaning that sometimes situations got heated and it was just a matter of time when Phil would crack like an egg.
Interesting. I guess I never really considered it like that. I mean, back then everybody was just like, you're just making the video offline, right? And then you were just like playing it online. Okay, excuse me. You were making the video offline and then you were uploading it. Nowadays, people like people watch people play. So yeah, I guess I didn't consider that like fucking potentially toxic fan interaction. That's kind of funny though. That's gotta be fucked up.
Bursts were recorded during this time, adding to the strain on his name. In 2014, DSP decided that it was time for a change, so he bought a condo in Seattle, Washington for him and his girlfriend Panda Lee. Supposedly, this was done to avoid high state income taxes that he had to pay in Connecticut, the state in which he lived previously. But when you consider the cost of living in Seattle, this move didn't make much sense. States like Florida, Nevada, and South Dakota have no income tax and much lower cost of living. Also,
yeah, I mean, it makes sense to move. I mean, I haven't done it, of course, like an idiot, but it makes sense to move. I mean, if you're making money doing content, it doesn't matter where you live. You know what I mean? Like, you're still making the same money. So, I mean, like, for people, why not just move, you know?
Didn't get rid of his condo in Connecticut for a long time, meaning he had to pay property tax and mortgage for both houses. This greatly affected his financial situation for years to come. Even more problems arose for his streaming when the Twitch admin told him that he needed to lower his bitrate while streaming. This caused a fight between Phil and Twitch, because he thought that everyone else was streaming at a higher bitrate, so he thought it was unfair for him to lower his. The arguing became so heated that Phil decided to completely abandon Twitch and move to YouTube for streaming. There he gained much less success, and on top of that, on June 24th, 2015...
Isn't it crazy how far we've gone? Or how far we've come, really? Because now Twitch is the place. Like, I feel like it's slowly taking over... Oh, excuse me, YouTube is the place. I feel like it's slowly taking over Twitch. I mean, it's just like, you know, there's better visibility. Twitch is kind of getting worse and worse payment-wise. They're not really getting worse for smaller streamers, but it's like the writing's on the wall, you know? Oh, my mother's a fucking prostitute. Holy shit. How did I lose there? Oh, now I know how I lost. Okay.
Phil actually got fucking swatted.
In my career of being a YouTuber, a streamer, I've had milestones along the way that I've placed out. And, you know, unfortunately, I have to say this, I hate the fact that I have to say it, but today was a milestone for completely the opposite reasons of anything that I would like to say or talk about. But because of what happened, because of course it is such a dramatic event, such a traumatic event, and quite honestly, such a dangerous event that happened today, I felt that I would come out myself only a couple hours after it happened. I would explain to you exactly what happened in regards to me being swatted today, because that is the subject of this video.
As if that wasn't enough, many people started to flag his vlog channel The King of Hate, mostly because of the fan art that he showed in his vlog videos without the permission of the original artist. If this continued, there was a possibility of YouTube taking down his vlog channel permanently. Machinima recommended setting all videos that contain fan art to private.
That's just trolling then. Like, why are they? Are the actual people who made the fan art? Like, he can't contest that? Like, if people make fan art of you, I feel like it's completely reasonable to show it. I mean, people had to have just been fucking with the guy at that point. That's crazy, though. That's definitely frustrating situation to be happening.
Private, but by doing so, all of the views on these videos were considered lost. Over 1 million of them, which meant that Phil was now even further behind the algorithm. It was a decisive blow for his growth on YouTube. However, as the years passed, Machinima began to whimper and decay, and at that point they issued yet another pay cut for Phil, a grim reminder of the things to come. But it wasn't all bad. After many years of begging Phil to create some kind of edited content, he finally agreed to make KO Gaming, a channel specifically made for edited videos. One of the few times DSP actually went out of his comfort zone to try to make better content. This channel featured one of his most famous videos on Homefront Revolution. He even created a Patreon that earned him $1,300. However, his Patreon goals got him into quite a large controversy concerning Project 7. If you don't know, Project 7 was something of a scripted show that Phil started with his two friends, John and Howard. It was uploaded on his YouTube channel and it had some similarities with other YouTube TV shows at the time. Sure, the production quality was minimal, but it seemed like people actually loved this content. But after some time, the team fell apart. The crew members later came out, saying that the main reason for this was money issues, claiming that Phil vastly underpaid them, supposedly because he didn't have the money.
First of all, we're gonna talk about that. I didn't get shit out of Project 7.
So no one got paid. Now here's the thing, I got paid.
John got paid.
I got my percentage.
Yeah.
There was at that time period, there's a point where my car had broken down, and I needed to get. Actually, I got a used car. I bought another car at that time. So I go, Phil, listen, I'm not coming to your house because I have no car. If you want me to come, throw me my percentage from the Project 7, and I'll use that cash towards a new car. And so I got my money. But there's, 3 other people, you guys, that got zero.
They got zero. Now, whatever.
A man who doesn't have the money.
Yeah, I don't understand. I mean, I don't know. How much was that particular channel making? Also, why am I struggling so hard to win this round? Like, I'm shitting my pants and shitting and farting.
To pay his friends for a show that they all do together, wouldn't buy a new BMW, don't you think? As a result, they became agitated and decided to leave the show for good. Now you know the history of Project 7. So the main controversy with one of his Patreon goals was that Phil promised to renew the show but never did, basically scamming people out of their money. As we reach this part,
he bought a brand new fucking BMW? Oh, you stupid asshole. Oh my god. Of course. Oh, you piece of shit. Well, okay, wait, you know what? In his defense, true question. Honest question, was the channel that they were doing together, was it lucrative? Right? Like, listen, if they were just starting to build like what sounds like a podcast in some capacity, that doesn't mean that they would be entitled to like the money he made on his channel by himself. Right? Like, if this was a Patreon only show, I think that's what they had said, correct me if I'm wrong, but if this was a Patreon only show, wouldn't that mean that he would get paid from like the Patreon, right? So if they weren't making enough money through the Patreon to get paid, then you suck a fart. That's how I'm interpreting it. No? Doesn't that make the most sense to you? I don't know. Makes the most sense to me.
Of our journey, I think it would be for the best to separate the next sections of the video by years. This is mainly to give you a better idea of the DSP timeline without me constantly citing dates. So with this, you might get better understanding of when and where something happened. So let's start with 2016. This is the year when Phil's personality gained yet another infamous trait, begging. In fact, Phil does so much e-begging that many people think he actually invented it. But why the sudden shift in conduct? I mean, Phil did pressure his audience before to help him with this work, but never to this extent. Well, even with Patreon, DSP couldn't keep his head above water when it came to financing. He still had 2 properties that he had to pay mortgages and property taxes on. For some reason, Phil still kept his lawyer from Connecticut when he moved out to Seattle. The said lawyer apparently didn't completely understood the state Washington law, which led him to miscalculate Phil's taxes, putting him thousands of dollars in debt. Unfortunately, none of these were the real reason why Phil had a horrible financial situation, because if you follow his vlogs or his social posts, you will notice just how awful he is with money. For example, he once went on a vacation with Panda Lee to a hotel room that was 50 kilometers away from his house. To do what? Go out for dinner and watch WWE in his hotel.
Yeah, who cares? Why is that? Why that? I wouldn't use it as an example of bad financial spending. 50 kilometers. Okay, let's see what a kilometer to a mile is. To a mile. So what do you say? 50 kilometers? That's 31 miles. Yeah, who cares? That'd be like if I drove out to like the city and stayed in a hotel for a night or two. Gives a shit. Like that's not an example of bad spending. That's just why is like that's just not understanding a relationship. Like sometimes it's nice to just stay in a hotel for a night or two and just get out of the house and you know go out with your fucking significant other or whatever. You know what I mean? Like that doesn't really ring as like this horrendous, you know, big mismatch or misuse of money here for me. Seems a little bit sussy that people think that though. I'll say that. Am I gonna fucking lose again? I'm gonna cry and fart in my pants. If I do. Hold on. We gotta win this, guys. We gotta win this, fellas. I'm losing every... I think we got it. Good. Okay, sorry.
Bedroom
with the speakers set up and our Blu-ray player. So tonight we'll be watching some movie.
Hold on.
Panda Lee to a hotel room that was 50 kilometers away from his house. To do what? Go out for dinner and watch WWE in his hotel bedroom?
With the speakers set up and our Blu-ray player, so tonight we'll be watching some movie.
Yeah, this isn't something you can do, you know, at home. The cost of this trip was $1,400. Or how about the time he leased a car for $400, only to drive it for 6,000 miles in 3 years? And the best part about that story is that he actually filmed himself explaining his reasoning, providing us with one of the best videos he has ever recorded.
Cherry Dude's like, oh, you could have engine damage. Now, Cherry Dude, that's not how it works. BMW has a diagnosis computer inside of the car that tells you when things go wrong. So if there were engine damage...
Oh my god! Hey, this guy is a living meme! No, there is. It's not. BMW has diagnosis computer in the car, okay? This hurts to listen to. Is this into the mind of somebody financially illiterate? He's fucking himself over.
This video showed us just how much...
I mean, if you're not driving a lot, you probably don't need to buy the car. I just wonder what his actual financial situation was. In this scenario, it's like, could he afford it? Like that would be the bigger thing to me. Is like, oh, could he actually afford it? Because that would be a bigger question for mine, from me, of course. But yeah, overall, it doesn't really seem like that big of a deal. I feel like everybody's kind of like having a fucking disproportionate, unhinged meltdown about this situation.
Phil does not understand basic financing or how car management works. There is also this amazing story where DSP got...
It's horrible spending if you're asking people for money and can't pay your employees. Again, like, I don't know the specifics because it's a while away. Like, we're kind of, like, a bit off on the timeline. But like I was saying before... oh, wow, this was like a... Okay, weird. But like I was saying before... oh, I don't have Elite Defender. I feel like... I was saying before. Let's say if I started a new podcast, let's say I decided to start a new podcast. And I did it with my friends. That podcast isn't making money. I'm not going to pay them. It's just as simple as that. So, like, you know, I don't know. I mean, like, it sounds like he was paying one guy, not the other. That's shitty. But I mean, I don't care. Like, if I'm not making money from the podcast, I'm not just going to pay people even though I have money. Which could have been the case. I feel like we're, you know... Applying for bankruptcy after applying for like 14 credit cards is okay. That we haven't seen yet, so if that's the case. Yeah, that's a shitty situation. But we're just going through it so far.
A custom-made PC for $3,000. On the day that PC arrived, he tried playing Rage on it, but was met with massive staggering. This frustrated Phil, so he opened a task manager to see what was going on. The moment he did that, anyone with basic computer understanding would see that the CPU was overloaded because he was recording games in 1080p 60 FPS, which would put a lot of stress on the CPU he bought. The problem was that he didn't do any research into the parts he was purchasing, so he ended ended up with a $3,000 PC that couldn't record gameplay properly. This is especially embarrassing because Phil claimed that he built PCs in the past. So faced with this problem, Phil did the sensible thing, and he bought a completely new gaming computer a few...
Phil seems like he has ego problems. Where he, like, has to pretend like he's actually good at things when he fucking clearly is not. And that's his biggest issue, I feel like. More than anything else. Jesus Christ, what a moron.
Few years later. This man constantly complains about his lack of funds, but spends massive amounts of money on the most stupid things. Being this bad with money, the only logical conclusion would be to get more sources of income. So Phil came back to live streaming on Twitch, something he said he would never do again, but empty threats don't conjure up food on the table. On Twitch, Phil would in fact gain more attention, but not for the reasons you might think, because on May 6, 2016, Phil was caught masturbating on stream by mistake because he thought his camera was turned off. He tried to hide his actions both on Twitter and YouTube, but with no success. The scandal was so large that almost everyone was talking about it. Keemstar himself even mentioned it.
DarkSydePhil was fucking jacking off on YouTube stream. What kind of fucking...
Did he just, like, forget? Did he just, like, not realize he was streaming? Bro, this guy's memeing himself so hard. How could you do this, Phil? Damn, brother. You're really fucking yourself. That's terrible. But I feel like that's a very relatable moment. You know what I mean? Like, hey, sometimes I guess you just forget the stream's running or something and you just accidentally jerk your wee-wee, your willy.
Weirdos like, as soon as I'm done, I'm gonna have the greatest live stream ever. Oh!
The attraction of this notoriety was so great that it affected Phil's use in a positive manner. He actually gained some steady growth for a little while, but no matter what the positive aspects of this situation might be, Phil was now forever branded as an online masturbator.
Hey. You know what? If you handle that attention well, it'd probably go well for you. I would have been like, oh, fuck, I was jerking off. Is what it is at that point. Sometimes you just make a little mistake, if you know what I mean. I definitely would make a little mistake. Yeah. Yeah. Damn. That was
if you thought that 2016 was a terrible year for Phil, then just wait until you see the upcoming parade, as the benefits of masturbating on stream were slowly starting to dwindle, while its disadvantages would stay forever. DSP was once again found in a situation where the views started to decrease. This didn't help him gain any favors with Machinima, who was by this point in time on the verge of dying, so people like Phil were just dead weight. So after many years, they have decided to cut DSP loose from their leash. This was a decisive blow for Phil, since he had now lost protection and income from the big company. It seemed like he would once again be thrown into the hornet's nest, but another saving grace would reveal itself. Curse, which was the name of another company, offered Phil...
Oh, I used that to get World of Warcraft mods, and that's it. I didn't know they did anything else with that.
A contract. Phil enthusiastically accepted. Even though he was saved from a very dangerous situation, he was still e-begging, citing even more financial problems. But again, if Phil has a financial situation, then why is he still buying shit like PlayStation VR, video game accessories and outfits? It seemed like the new...
I mean, I guess for content, but yeah, that is kind of a bad call. I mean, he could probably write that off on his taxes, considering that was his job, but that doesn't completely negate everything, but you could still do that.
New consoles were also within his reach, since he bought the Nintendo Switch and filmed himself setting it up. What was most amazing about this video was how unclean his gaming setup is. I'm sure that the tombs of Egyptian pharaohs had less dust than this. So can someone tell me, how is he spending the money he doesn't have? His estimated annual earnings at the time were around $80,000. This means that he had more than enough funds to pay for his bills. So if he really has problems with that, it was entirely his fault. All of this attracted even more people who wanted to make fun of him. His streams were now full of what seemed to be trolls and detractors, who were there just to make fun of Phil and provoke him to any kind of reaction. It seemed like Phil's awful skill at video games wasn't the only thing that was mocked, as trolls started to joke about some of his weird habits, like his snorting. For example, one of the most popular DSP troll channels is literally called Snort Burnell. On one occasion, DSP recorded himself showering with Axe body wash for the DSP Tries It series on his vlog channel, which became one of the most popular videos among detractors. On top of that, people started to mock DSP for his gout, and he said many times that joking about this was wrong, because gout is a medical condition that he couldn't get rid of, while on the other hand...
I thought gout was something that you get from eating like shit. How do you get gout? I thought you eat like like a lot of fat. Yeah, okay, it's caused by a buildup of a substance called uric acid in the bloodstream. If you produce too much uric acid in your kidneys and filter it out, it can build up. Okay, these crystals can. I think, and I could. What kind of foods cause gout? Foods and drinks that often trigger gout attacks or include organ meats, game meats, some types of fish. Okay, so yeah, I think it's a dietary thing, no? So.
and he has no problem making ching-chong jokes in gameplay videos. The compilation of his inappropriate behavior is perfectly captured in one of the parody videos called DSP Tries It, Racism. His vlog channel had strange...
Bro, what is he thinking? Why would he do that? Oh my god, he's just being racist. There's nothing to that except he's just being fucking racist. That's crazy, brother. What are you thinking? What were you doing?
Strangely enough, many videos of DSP cooking, and as always, he was ridiculed for this as well. Since people always find a way to be oddly consistent, it seemed like Phil was also awful at cooking. Look at these delicacies and tell me what you think. One of the instances that comes to mind is when he was making bacon and eggs, where he said that he didn't have the time to melt the butter because he was a gamer.
First thing you want to do is butter your pans or spray them down. I don't have time to melt fucking butter. I'm in a hurry. I'm a gamer. So I spray my pans with this.
I think he's joking, right?
Maybe not knowing how to prepare food wasn't that bad, since Pandali probably took care of it. Just take a look at this Battlefront 2 stream, where he paused the gameplay because he had to check if his sick girlfriend was awake because she needed to make him dinner.
Previous one and the one before that. You're looking for one that doesn't make you look like shit.
Make sure that Leanna's awake. She's not been feeling too well. I want to make sure she's awake because she has to start making dinner. Give me a second. I'll be right back.
Are you fucking kidding me? Did he just say his girlfriend's sick, but he's got to go wake her up to make sure she can cook his fat ass dinner?
Yeah. Hey, listen.
Holy shit!
Hey, listen. It depends on how sick you are. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? I mean, if she's got a little cold, you know, maybe she's still, you know, you got a little cold, you know. You can still make me dinner, bitch. You know what I'm saying?
Irredeemable piece of crap.
Yeah, there were some interesting moments in Phil and Pandali's relationship, like when Pandali wore a fake engagement ring to work, so her co-workers would ask questions like why Phil still didn't propose to her, or that time when DSP accidentally leaked her nudes when he was recording his desktop. But all of this pales in comparison to that one incident that everyone seems to be aware of. In May of 2017, Pandali suffered a panic attack while at work, which caused her to be hospitalized. And how did Phil react to this? Well, how about when he got there, he was frustrated with the amount of time that he had to wait, he fought with the hospital staff and was actually offended by the hospital bill, and then proceeded to say that if a panic attack happened again, the emergency staff were not allowed to take Pandali to the hospital. Phil's conduct...
I'm very confused about what happened here. What were we criticizing for?
In May of his desktop, but all of this pales in comparison to that one incident that everyone seems to be aware of. In May of 2017, Pandali suffered a panic attack while at
she had a panic attack.
work, which caused her to be hospitalized.
Then it made her have to go to hospital. Okay.
And how did Phil react to this? Well, how about when he got there, he was frustrated with the amount of time that he had to wait.
Well, that makes sense. If they didn't allow him to instantly go in, I could understand that.
He fought with the hospital staff and was actually offended by the hospital.
Okay, I could understand that too. Only because there are instances where, like, this is one of the things you really kind of have to learn, is that sometimes you have to advocate for yourself really hard when it comes to the hospital, or they will treat you like shit and you may not get the help that you need. There's a lot of malpractice deaths. So, like, listen, he might have just been being an asshole, but he also might have just been advocating for his partner.
Hospital bill, and then proceed.
And then it might have been a high hospital bill, which is probably a big stressor, which is really more of an issue with the system here.
To say that if a panic attack happened again, the emergency staff were not allowed to take Pandali to the hospital. Phil's conduct in this...
Yeah, I mean, it's not ideal, but it might have been a ton of money, which is the problem with, like, how much this shit costs. They may not have had insurance. I would get insurance at that point, but yeah, I mean, like, it's not ideal. I just don't think it's this, like, fucking meltdown as we need to, you know, it's not as big of, like, a meltdown issue as I personally wouldn't be that offended by the whole thing going on there. I get it.
This situation was so bad that Pandali and Phil would break up after this incident, finally ending the relationship that lasted over 5 years. Joking aside, this breakup seemed to really affect Phil, losing a partner with whom he shared a living space and someone who was a big part of Phil's persona. So losing her like this wasn't a small thing. But like everything happening in his life, Phil tried to monetize his misery, crying on his streams how life is hard, how he can't cook or clean. Ah yes, cooking and cleaning, one of the great perils of the modern age. Even his viewers tried to lift him up. Phil, there are worse things that could have happened. One of the fans said that his brother died, and even though this had an effect on him, he was still a functional member of society. But Phil didn't seem to mind. He had to be in the center of attention, even if that means being a victim.
Of course, now we got to get someone in the stream chat who wants to turn their own personal story into, you know, derailing the chat, and I'm not going to put up with it, so I'm just going to warn you right now. You know, War Dog Leader, there's no way for us to know if what you're saying in the stream chat is legitimate or not. You could be someone completely making stuff up, or you could be completely legitimate. Appreciate the sentiment, and sorry to hear about a family member that passed away, but no one wants to hear you make this about how I'm in the wrong for being stressed in my life because you have a situation that's worse. That's ridiculous. Go.
Wait, what? Did he shame someone else?
Or not, you could be someone completely making stuff up. You know, War Dog Leader, there's no way for us to know if what you're saying in the stream chat is legitimate or not. You could be someone completely making stuff up, or you could be...
What? Wait. I lost my little brother very recently. I can still function and eat. Was it wrong with some noodles or eggs, or hell, even cheese on toast, man? Okay, I get what you're saying. He got so okay. Now I understand. It's all right. It took me a second. So Phil is crying like a fucking baby about how he can't make his own food. He's broken up and he needs money. Right? That's pretty much all that's going on here. Okay. He's being a fucking crybaby, and this guy's like, "Yo, my brother died, and I still managed to eat." Yeah. Okay.
No way for us to know if what you're saying in the stream chat is legitimate or not. You could be someone completely making stuff up, or you could be completely legitimate. Appreciate the sentiment, and sorry to hear about a family member that passed away, but no one wants to hear you make this about how I'm in the wrong for being stressed in my life because you have a situation that's worse. That's ridiculous. Go run your own stream if you want to do.
On a more serious note, Phil was a victim when you consider one specific individual. 2017 was the year when a famous DSP detractor group called the Sons of Kojima was disbanded. This group's very existence was to fuck with Phil, and their ringleader was called Fred Fox. All they talked about was DSP and his shortcomings, and here we arrive at a serious problem. Phil Burnell lived inside Fred's head rent-free. Phil could hardly sneeze without Fred and his goons reacting to it. All they seemed to think about is DSP 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This actually became mean to some point, because you need to consider the fact that mocking one thing constantly is bound to become distasteful, but making fun of some bizarre internet personality is one thing. The Sons of Kojima didn't just want to devote their lives to mocking Phil, they wanted to ruin his life. This included false flagging his channel, doxing him, and even threatening to swat Panda Lee's brother's wedding. The worst part is, this is just scratching the surface. Fred Fox is a mentally ill individual, he needs help, and I'm not saying this as a joke. These people are deranged, and that is why their group finally disbanded. Their entire history is too long for this video, so I thought it would be the best just to quickly mention this. Now, let's get back to the video.
Montezuma? What is that?
Hello. Hello, Phil. Hello. What is the treasures of Montezuma for?
I don't know. What the hell is that?
I don't know about you, but I think that streaming might help with grief, and this will be a perfect opportunity to show how much respect Phil's audience has for him. DSP sometimes makes polls for viewers to recommend games for him to play, and his trolls absolutely loved recommending games where they could agitate him. A good example of this is their recommendation of World of Warcraft. When the stream started, trolls immediately showed up in large numbers, following Phil everywhere, making it impossible for him to level up. It didn't matter if he changed the server or hid his name, the trolls would always find him and make his gaming experience unplayable.
How would they find him on the server regardless? Oh, because there probably wasn't, there's not a whole lot of classic servers to jump onto. So they would just jump on all of them and they would find out who it was. Damn. They really fucking hate this guy. What the fuck would you do? Oh my god, why would you do that to this guy? What the fuck's the matter with you? These people are going fucking hardcore in on him, man. That's fucking nuts. Holy shit. Wow.
Look at all the music. Do not disturb the sound where it does nothing. Just look at this. Just look at this.
Oh my god.
Surprisingly, Phil was completely unaware of this. He never imagined that some games should be abandoned due to the unpleasant situations that the trolls could cause, and this brings us to one of the most amazing trolling streams ever created on this sad platform. One of the video games that viewers recommended was Jackbox TV. This is basically a series of minigames made to be played with 8 people. The entire point of
No, you can't play Jackbox with your friends or with your fans. You can't play that, bro. You're about to see the most fucking heinous onslaught of N-word comments that anyone's ever experienced. I'm not even kidding. People are fucking ruthless. They're fucking unhinged on that shit, brother. You cannot be fucking with that shit. God damn. Okay.
game was to make your own amusement. For example, one of the games includes the narrator giving a made-up question and people must write made-up answers. Then everyone votes on which answer was the funniest. Now combine that with the fact that trolls are flooding DSP's streams at this point and it is easy to see where this is going. Phil basically bought and loaded a gun and then gave his viewers the power of the trigger. Now let's all enjoy this absolute shit show.
The worst ringtone for a cell phone.
Oh boy, here we go. Snort or Darude Sandstorm.
What's really in a camel's hump?
Uh-oh. Gout or Phil's gaming skills. What?
These aren't as bad as I thought they'd be. I thought that there would be a barrage of like inappropriate fucking words, you know what I'm saying? These aren't even as bad as I thought. Wow, okay. Well, they're still fucking obnoxious, but hey, I guess it could have been worse, right? Okay. Jesus Christ, great.
Wow.
The 6077th layer of hell is reserved for blank.
Oh boy.
People who cheer and chip DSP or internet trolls. Oh, man.
The title of Rob Schneider's memoir. Vote on your devices.
I never mastered it on live stream. That's funny though. He's taking it well though. That's not so bad. I thought it was going to be racisms, but this is pretty solid.
Drunk Rabbit would embarrass himself.
Okay.
It's voting time.
DSP is one Pornhub, everyone. There you go. And it links to the actual Pornhub. The fat, lazy, man-child, narcissistic NBA dropout jerking off in front.
Oh my
Sorry, couldn't read it. Off to Seattle, ditching my family and friends for a teenage girl. There you go, even though she was not a teenage girl when we moved.
How could 2017 get any worse? Well, it's about to. Right after the breakup, Phil started to date a new mysterious girlfriend. He vaguely talked about her on Twitter and showed photos of her, but only from behind. This is important because somewhere around this...
That's what I would do too if I had a girlfriend that was actually a cross-dresser, you know? I'm just saying.
This time, a curious person called Kimberly Brink started posting some interesting things about DSP. A little pissed off right now. If it doesn't change by this weekend, I'm going to release this screenshot I took from my DM. I don't like to be treated like this, just saying. I say just this. Pay me, motherfucker, or you're gonna be so sorry you wish I had cut your tiny fucking cock off instead. Not even the backlash you'll be getting from my husband who oversees my business. Now, this is interesting. Is this yet another one of DSP's shenanigans? If we were to take a look at Kiwi Farms, Kimberly actually elaborated on what she meant with these tweets. Apparently, she is a high-end escort from Europe the DSP contracted, and by the looks of it, Phil didn't pay her what he owed, and now she is threatening to expose everything that has happened, to reveal embarrassing details of DSP's life, if you want to be direct. Naturally, the detractors were all over this, attempting to get as much information.
Did DSP actually not pay, or did she just want to get paid more?
As possible. There was a speculation that this prostitute from Europe was a supposed girlfriend of DSP, and Kimberly did give out a few details at first on Kiwi Farms. Let me tell you guys a little bit about dipshit Phil in real life. I have seen him 3 times, and the 3 times I have been with him were meh. For starters, sleeping next to him is a living hell if you don't bring earplugs. He snores like a freaking monster. His breath smells as if he hasn't brushed his teeth in forever. Then there are the strange, most irritating noises that
sometimes when I wake up, my breath stinks, you know what I mean? I guess I'm snoring too much, okay? Don't blame me for that. What am I supposed to do about it, you know?
He makes when he sleeps, almost like a constant growl, very irritating to say the least. You thought the snoring on streams is bad, well, don't go sleeping next to him. Now for the kitchen things. Yes, we did eat at his house, but that was like once, and I cooked for him because he said he doesn't like cooking as much. Fine by me, but if I remember his streams, didn't he say a lot of times that he actually liked cooking? So no idea if he tried to fool me and hoped I didn't remember, but whatever. You know, I didn't mind cooking, and it was only once. Now let me spill the beans and sausage here regarding dipshit Phil and his tiny instrument. Yes, he is a man, he has a dick, but my oh my, I should have brought a magnifying glass here, because when fully erect, if you can even call it erect, it was hardly 4 inches long and not very pleasurable. But I guess that was what he was born.
Hey, hardly 4 inches. Listen, 4 inches, that's not bad. You know what I mean? It's not terrible. Come on, is that bad? Does the girls think that's too small? Come on, bro. That's pretty big, in my opinion. That's pretty big.
With, so can't blame him for that. He is, however, a quick squirter because sex didn't last long, a couple of minutes at most, so not very pleasurable for me. No idea how Leanne lasted that long with him.
Hey, high-value men are too busy to be fucking around for too long, you know what I mean? I got shit to do. My bills are paid, I pay my bills, you know what I'm saying, dude? I got shit going on. I got shit going on. You think I have time to be fucking around that much, you know?
But I'm sure she had more than enough toys to satisfy her while he was busy gaming and working. This was just the taste of things to come. And Kimberly said that she would release more if DSP didn't pay up. This sure is interesting, but how do we check the validity of her statements? Sure, Phil has done some dumb shit before, but even this sounds far-fetched. Let's first take a look at her Twitter. This account was years old.
I mean, listen, I wouldn't give a fuck. Like, if you had the money and you're single or whatever, buy a prostitute, who gives a shit? Buy an escort? I think that's the problem, though. Apparently, Phil isn't that great with the money management. So that would be where the issue kind of starts to display itself, you know? So, yeah.
With regular posts and photos, and even when you compare the DSP's timeline and Kimberly's timeline, some coincidences start to occur. For example, on December 12th, 2017, Kimberly is talking about traveling, and then later on DSP is talking about his girlfriend finally coming over. DSP took photos of his girlfriend from behind, and Kimberly posted similar photos, claiming that it was actually her. Not to mention that Kimberly even had a professionally made website called Slut Kimberly. Something strange is going on, but how did DSP react to all of this? Well, yeah, he denied ever speaking to this woman, both on stream and on Twitter, later, he went into full-blown defensive stance. Kimberly, after some time, started posting even more details, even though she said the DSP has started paying her back. Hey, they call me DSP. Remember when you sent me this pic last September when you asked me if it was a good one? I sure made good use of it on your ass when I was with you, didn't I?
What was it?
And what is the picture link below? Well, I will let you use your own imagination. I mean, what is happening?
He was getting pegged. I mean, listen, man, he might be getting pegged, or maybe she's just trying to fucking make a dig at him and be like, oh, you like to get pegged, and basically call him like gay and stuff, which it is kind of gay. Listen, I'm gonna tell you something right now. It's gayer. That's gay. I feel like that's even gayer. That's gay. Getting pegged in the ass, like you're not even. At least if a dude was fucking you, you're pleasuring someone else. But it's all for your pleasure. I don't know, bro. That's
Did you really get to a point where desperate streamers have to pay escorts from other countries to relieve their pain after breakups? Not quite. The people on Kiwi Farms started to notice some weird things concerning this Kimberly person. Apparently, pictures of her profile were stolen from some random woman online. Other users also investigated further to check domain names and other inconsistencies. This profile might actually be fake, but wait, what is this? I don't know who did this, but this account was hacked. I had not used it in a very long time. Thank you to the person who notified me that my account was active. I'm working on deleting all tweets made on this account as I have no intention in using it. Well, it looks like real Kimberly was hacked and all of this was just a complete and utter fabrication. She isn't a whore from Europe, guys. But wait a second, this account was 8 years old. How the hell did she only now realize that she has been hacked? Even the slut Kimberly website has been taken down. How did she manage to do this when she didn't own the website? Oh, wait a minute. Even the real Kimberly was apparently faked. And all of this was just an orchestrated troll attempt by Fred Fox, the ringleader of the Sons of Kojima, who made all of this nonsense just to mess with Phil once again. Even the website slut Kimberly was changed to have the name Fred Fox in the header. So wait a second. Even the tweets made by the supposed real Kimberly were faked, and all of this was just another attempt to ridicule Phil? Well, as it turns out, no. The profile on Kiwi Farms was changed yet again. This time, the profile claimed to be a hacking group called The Falcon. My head is officially in the stratosphere. I mean, what is going on here? This is some Inception shit, so it's neither the real Kimberly nor the real Fred Fox, but some random fucking hacking group? Believe it or not. No. No, this is not the bottom of the rabbit hole, because the real truth is that this is all a catfish scam orchestrated by Patrick and Brenda Bronstein. They make fake profiles to cheat men out of their money on the internet. All of this was just a catfish empire, but
what the fuck, dude? I've never heard about this before. This is insane. How fucking Jesus Christ. Wow. Damn, man. That's okay.
This time, there was so much attention on this.
This is like some next level, like, Christian shit. Like, these people are going fucking deep in the woods on this one, boy. What the fuck?
Case that people actually figured it out. When their slut Kimberly profile was discovered, they attempted to cover their tracks by claiming to be the real Kimberly, then Fred Fox, and finally some hacking group. But they made a fatal mistake. This fake escort identity was linked back to another fake woman, Angelina Carpi. This identity was much older than Kimberly Brink's name, and she had made a fatal error. In registering the domain name and putting up an Amazon wishlist to swindle patrons, they had revealed their true identities. 2017 was a train wreck for our friend DSP. We can only hope that the future brings better harvest and perhaps fewer fake accounts claiming the DSP loves pegging in the bedroom. Let's start with something positive. In 2018, Phil finally revealed his new girlfriend for the first time, named Kat. Funny enough, she wasn't an escort from Europe. He has shown her on few streams, but she mostly remains off camera. That is likely due to the Halloween stream, where Phil clashed with one of his most infamous detractors, Almighty Tevin. Tevin was immensely popular among the detractor community. He would restream Phil's content and give his own take on whatever Phil was doing. The big difference that separated Tevin from other trolls was in his approach. He was smart in his commentary of DSP, quick to disarm his lies and confront him with his own words. Tevin also showcased the toxic behaviors of Phil, like that time he threatened to dox someone online.
How do you know it's the same dude? Are you gonna tell us how? No. He's not gonna tell us.
Oh, by the way, I have your IP, I have your name, and I have your address.
Are you... I have your IP, I have your name, and I have your address. You said this in a video, bruh? Wow.
Wasn't good.
Please, DSP, please do something to be awesome one in person so everybody can see your fucking lame... Let me shut up.
On one particular Halloween stream, Kat would leave the said stream early, and Phil blamed it on Tevin, saying it was his mockery that drove her away. He even threatened to involve authorities, but of course nothing happened to that extent because, let's be real here, no crime was committed. It's not that this was the first time Phil threatened lawsuits, it just shows that his behavior has gotten worse over the years. And despite the fact that he never filed any legal action, Phil still berated Tevin any chance he got.
someone like Tevin, he hurts my business because he illegally steals my stuff and restreams it without permission, and a lot of people might go check his stuff out instead of mine and contribute to him instead of me, when in reality, I'm the reason he ever was known, and he basically owes everything to me that he even has any kind of a fucking following.
Phil's animosity towards his rival helped Tevin a lot actually, which can be easily concluded if you compare the views of the two rivals. Tevin usually got 900 views on his streams, while Phil had to castrate himself live to reach near that amount, so you might sense a bit of jealousy and bitterness from our rockstar. If Phil...
Well, what exactly was he doing? Was he just restreaming Phil's thing? If this other guy's just literally restreaming it, not changing the content, like, he's not wrong, then DSP is getting, like, fucked over by this guy. I don't know why people are shitting their pants over that.
Helped Tevin a lot actually, which can be easily concluded if you compare the views of the two rivals. Tevin usually got 900 views on his streams, while Phil had to castrate himself live to reach near that amount, so you might sense a bit of jealousy and bitterness from our rockstar. If Phil thought that Tevin was his biggest rival, then he was massively mistaken, because his real enemy is himself. The reputation he built caused him a lot of problems. Phil even admitted to having depression, which could explain why he got so drunk on his Christmas stream. I mean, I hope that is the reason, because I can't think of any other excuse for this type of behavior, but nevertheless, you would think that Phil, having depression himself, would be more sympathetic towards his depressed fans when one of them wanted to have a word with Phil. Rather than offering support, he antagonized the viewer, saying that he was doing this just for the attention.
Super Meat Boy, how you doing? You're really depressed tonight, huh? You're really depressed. Gotta derail my whole stream and be negative in the stream chat because no one's paying you attention. So now I'm paying you attention, alright? So here we go.
What the fuck?
How you doing?
I don't even think you need to have a depression to...
Jesus Christ, what an asshole. Oh my god. What a scumbag. Like, I mean, I can understand how maybe you feel like it crosses a line to, like, overly acknowledge somebody in the stream like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you could feel like, oh, Jesus, I'm really having such a bad time playing this game. I'm not having any fun right now. I'm just gonna quit. I can understand being, like, a little apprehensive about, you know, somebody that's like, oh, I'm depressed, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Like, I've had somebody come into the stream and be like, oh, man, like, I'm suicidal. It's like, what am I supposed to do with that? You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, ah, oh, don't do anything, man. But, like, I can't give you, like, super personal advice. I feel like that crosses a bit of a line, right? Yeah, I'm live. But, I mean, to berate the guy, you know what I mean? That's fucking crazy.
To have empathy for mentally ill fans. His notoriety even cost him a sponsorship deal he had with a chair company called OP Seats, but then again, nothing bad happening to Phil is ever his fault. This infamous reputation also got him in trouble with Curse, who, like Machinima, had to cut him loose. Apparently his videos were getting around 200 reports a day, so Curse had to manually check every single...
200 reports a day? I feel like some people are just trolling, though. But I guess it's hard, but I mean, I guess once they're starting to look at it, maybe it's an issue. I don't know.
Single report. Naturally, this required a large amount of manpower and was just not worth it. Combine that with Phil still paying for 2 mortgages because he refused to sell his house in Connecticut and being in massive debt due to tax evasion, and it was right about the time for yet another e-begging video. And this one was called Alert, my future on YouTube is at stake. Please support.
For those who want to know, the news is not good. The news is very grim. AdSense, Google AdSense has not responded to my appeal. But I'm going to be very upfront and honest with you guys. I need your help. If you guys want to continue to see me upload videos to YouTube, at this point, since I'm making no money whatsoever on DSP Gaming, and I'm making almost nothing on KO Gaming, which I'm going to talk about in just a moment, I need you to help support everything, all right?
As if this...
Couldn't he technically have somebody else make his channel and then he could just upload to it? Isn't that like a thing that people do? Doesn't Steven Crowder do that? He does look like an off-brand Ricky Gervais, for sure.
This amount of e-begging wasn't low enough. Phil even mentioned his sick parents in a way to gain sympathy from his donating viewers. If you think that there is nothing more degrading than using your aging parents as a way to make more money, think again. Because it gets worse. Much, much worse.
Well, I want to hear what he said. Let's see what he's saying.
Is that I knew going to Connecticut would already be a week away from streaming and people would want to know when I came back what I did and everything. And that's why I was setting up this podcast. But in reality, in the back of my head, I knew I was getting married to Kat while I was there. And that when we finally announced that publicly, people were going to explode. Oh my God.
Well, the son of a bitch did it. DSP
Wait,
actually...
somebody donated like a lot of money to him just there. Did you see that? Like $1,000. Top cheer. Top cheer 1.5k bits. Okay, what is that?
Got married, which is fine in and of itself. But what is not fine is that he paid for this wedding with viewers' money he said he needed for his parents. As one might guess, many people didn't share his enthusiasm. They labeled Phil as pathological liar who emotionally manipulates his audience so that they will pay for his expenses. However, Phil stated that the wedding was paid by his parents, and I don't know how he thinks this solves the problem. If he gave the money to his parents and then they paid for the wedding, at the end of the day, it was still his viewers who paid for the wedding. The only difference being that Phil tried to launder the money through his relatives.
I guess. I feel like this is a little bit of a pearl clutch. I mean, fundamentally, he shouldn't really be begging people for money, but like he's begging people for money so that he could like maintain his career. Right, so he's like, hey, guys, I'm not monetizing anything. I need money from you guys, blah, 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 so I can basically make this a job, and then they give him money, and then he's like, okay, well, I'm getting married, and I'm going to spend money on marriage because you traditionally do that. And they're like, oh, why would you spend it on this? Like, I guess I kind of get it from him. Like, it's not ideal, but neither is begging, but I get what he's doing. Like, it's, I guess I just don't necessarily care. Like, it's not that big of a deal to me.
Does he not understand the logic behind this? Some users also pointed out the fact that he didn't marry Pandali for financial reasons, something he stated himself. But now, when he is in even bigger debt, he can somehow afford it? Oh, bigger debt. I almost forgot to mention.
How big was the wedding? That's a real question, because I did like a really small wedding. It was very inexpensive. We got married at a park. We bought like I got like a suit and she had a dress, and then like we went out to eat at the buffet afterwards, and we kept it really like low profile kind of a thing. It probably cost like maybe $500. You know what I mean? Like how big did they do? You know, how big was their marriage, their wedding? Did they do a huge wedding, you know?
Phil was now well over $100,000 in debt for his failure to pay his Connecticut mortgage. All of this was because he didn't want to sell his second house, thinking it would be sold below market value, so he figured that it would be much better to enter a $100,000 debt. Keep in mind that this was just for the mortgage and does not include the taxes he was owing to the government. His total debt might as well have been over $200,000 for all we know, but knowing that Phil is capable of using his parents as a way to make money, what other ethical boundaries is he willing to cross this time?
SJ says, I watched Etika for a long time. I'm really sad about what happened. Did you ever come close to being mentally unstable from all the trolling and hate that you get? I hope you're doing well, and please talk to someone if things get too hectic. I mean, I'm not going to lie. There's times when it really does get to me when things go really bad because of it. Or when I just want to express something genuinely, you know, that's something positive, and these idiots have to literally turn it into something negative. And they do this all the time. They did it on my tweet. I made a tweet about Etika, just basically saying what I just said, okay? And, oh, look, in the past, Phil has referenced mental illness, and in the past, Phil has done this horrible thing and that horrible thing. How dare he make a tweet about something like this? Fuck off.
Well, butter my biscuit.
Rip Etika, who I didn't know, but was well-liked. Mental health is not a joke. Memes can be hurtful, and people should feel responsible for their actions and pay attention to their repercussions. We shouldn't have to deal with the tragedy of an awesome person. I don't really see that as a big problem. I'm assuming people are going to make it seem like he's weaponizing the Etika situation and trying to like project himself onto there because people troll him a lot, but like I feel like that's fine. It's not that big of a deal. Okay.
How about using a fellow YouTuber's suicide as a means to an end? This year was also met with his usual e-begging, a standard practice by this point. However, one stream stood out because Phil promised that if a tip goal of $1,000 was met, he would surprise his audience with something that would have an impact on future streams. True enough, the tip goal was met, and Phil revealed Jasper. Putting aside the fact of how stupid this is, how exactly does your fucking cat have an influence on streams? It's almost as if he has set a high bar for people to donate to, just so that DSP can reveal the stupidest thing in the world for a quick payoff. Also,
whatever, maybe his fans like this. Who gives a shit? I don't know.
His story about the cat doesn't make sense. Phil said that he adopted Jasper from the shelter, which was probably not true because the cat was declawed. Some people declaw their cats so they won't ruin their furniture, so naturally it is impossible to find one in a shelter. Hey, do you remember that famous incident from...
What? I'm so confused with that line of logic. That doesn't even really make sense to me. I don't...
Which was probably... Also, his story about the cat doesn't make sense. Phil said that he adopted Jasper from the shelter, which was probably not true because the cat was declawed. Some people declaw their cats so they won't ruin their furniture, so naturally it is impossible to find one in a shelter. Hey,
I don't understand the logic. So he's saying that the cat was already declawed before he purchased it, or before he attained the cat. So that means that it couldn't have been from adopted. Okay, maybe he declawed it himself, or maybe it ended up in the shelter because they declawed the cat and they got loose or something. And I just feel like there's declawed cats at shelters. And if maybe he was looking for one specifically, that seems like a weird thing.
Do you remember that famous incident from 2019, the one involving Pro Jared? The person in question is a popular YouTuber who has been accused of cheating on his wife and having sexual encounters with his minor fan.
Yeah, we talked about that. Those were all untrue. Well, he kind of cheated on his wife. They were in a polyamorous relationship, but he like went across like one of the relationship boundaries, which was shitty, obviously. But then like everything else seemed to be fabricated, and it's just like some bullshit online, you know, shit fuck basically, which people love doing. Where the fuck are my heels?
And during this time, Phil made a tweet taking a jab at Jared because he also made fun of Phil some time ago. So in a way, this was Phil striking back. This tweet would go viral and expose DSP to new audiences. With this new attraction, Phil realized that his past reputation would probably deter some of the new eyes that might be watching him. So to clear his name, he decided to make this video. DSP tries it, debunking 7 years of slander. From the title, you can see that he's clearly playing into the joke a little bit. Here he tried to explain and debunk all of the accusations that were thrown at him over the years, but the problem is that he did a horrible job at it. The reason why is that he never showed any proof for his claims, and most of the accusations were dismissed with a simple "that's just not true." In this recorded form...
Well, I don't know the specifics of what they're talking about, but like, if there's no proof in the first place, then how can you deprove something that doesn't have any proof to it in the first place? This is what we call conspiracy theory. When something doesn't have proof already, and then, like, that's the nature of conspiracy theories. Healing is horrible.
Phil gave himself a perfect situation to deflect blame, with no one around him to question the obvious loopholes in his story. You might be wondering, why aren't there any interviews with Phil in which his lies are exposed by the people who have done their homework on him and who could potentially ask some uncomfortable questions? Well, that is because Phil never goes on interviews. The only time he would show up if he was absolutely sure that the people on the panel would not ask him about serious accusations, because he would have no way of defending himself. People like Review Tech USA, a famous YouTuber who is a big fan of DSP, a guy well researched on the topic of Phil's shenanigans, and someone who wants to get to the bottom of things. Naturally, Rich would destroy Phil in...
Yeah, baby, I'll take some from Dunkin' Donut. Maybe like a bagel and the raspberry iced tea sugar-free thing. That'd be pretty good. Thanks, babe.
In any debate, since Rich did his homework and would send Phil to Kingdom Come with his absurd amount of evidence. So Phil just decided to ignore people like Rich, staying in the shadows as much as possible. But sometimes, like I said, Phil would go for an interview. One of these events would take place on September 29th, 2019. Do you remember that parody video I mentioned earlier called DSP Tries It, Racism and Insults Other Countries? Since some people have found out about his ching-chong jokes, it appears that his old behavior would come to bite him in the ass. This led to news articles trying to deplatform him for his past behavior. Unfortunately, these people were not aware of another DSP fact, which is that he will outlive God himself. One of the people who protected Phil during this time was a gentleman called The Quartering, a YouTuber who created nerdy content, but was also very anti-cancel culture. His real name is Jeremy, and he made a video defending DSP, stating that if his comments are good enough of an argument to deplatform him, then shouldn't the same be extended to other people who made the same jokes? People like Stephen Colbert. And if this was all Jeremy did, then the story would end here. Another YouTuber gets targeted because of his or her comments from the past, and then the other YouTuber comes to the rescue. But Jeremy wanted to do more, so he actually did an interview with DSP where he would try to clear his name from all the other accusations, you know, like...
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, he made some very insensitive jokes, and it's like, you know, maybe you don't go that far. You apologize for it, be like, hey, it was shitty and insensitive, I'm sorry, you know, and you kind of just leave it there.
The ones made in this video, he gave him a platform to defend himself, which on its own is okay, but what is not okay is how he structured his questions. Hey, remember that awful interview that Boogie did with Kid behind the camera? Michael had some real accusations heading his way, and Boogie was supposedly there to get to the bottom of things. What ended up happening instead was that Boogie made a borderline propaganda video, twisting the facts, adding the said music, and completely tarnishing his integrity so that he could blow smoke up Michael's ass. Now, knowing all this, I am sad to say that the interview Jeremy had with DSP was somehow even worse. Jeremy started the video by saying that DSP is a humble man.
I think Phil is a pretty interesting story. He seems to me to be a relatively humble man.
And then proceeded to show his in-depth interview. So if Jeremy really wanted to help Phil with his reputation, did he ask him any of the real questions? Like, for example, what happened to Project 7, a borderline scam that Phil pulled on his audience to get them.
So listen, I don't know the specifics. I'm not a big fan of the quartering. He's like he definitely has like a, you know, he's more interested in like kind of pushing like a more of a, like his motivation for this would be like, oh, I want to push more of like a conservative agenda where like edginess should be able to come back. Which like I'm fine with edginess, but like rather than do, but I don't know this. Does he actually know about these specific things? You know what I mean? Like, then you could say like we didn't do enough research, but like, I don't know. That seems like very in depth and maybe beyond what might be considered like a reasonable to be able to investigate. Maybe I don't know.
Them to pay him more money on his Patreon.
And a lot of these outlets, as you saw in the video, they were unaware of your
because the quarter is going to be there almost exclusively talking about being very anti-cancel culture more than anything else. It's going to be the kind of agenda, I guess you'd say.
Cancelability.
No, maybe a question about Phil and Pandalee's relationship. Why was he more concerned with trivial stuff while his girlfriend was in the hospital?
You know, hey, I'm a YouTuber too. I'm a content creator just like you. What are your plans for post YouTube? You know, or post streaming? Or have you even thought of that?
Jesus Christ, Jeremy, will you at least ask
These
about the
healers are
time when he
horrible.
needed the money to help his sick parents, but instead used...
Just look at this. My fucking healers are pulling like 4K and 35. Their healers are pulling 6 and 5 and 6. It's like, holy fuck. Like, Jesus Christ, dude. This is so frustrating. Holy fuck. Hey, I'm DSPing right now, guys. I'm DSPing, all right? I'm feeling frustrated. I feel like my healers could be actually doing something a little bit more. It's frustrating.
Used it to get married.
And when I mean like political, isn't necessarily like, oh, I like the president or I don't like the president, but you know,
Oh,
the
shit, that's
issues,
Bob.
right? Like you're basically just sick of streaming your games, and I think that has insulated you.
It appears that none of these real questions will be answered. Perhaps Jeremy believes that questions like where did Phil unleash his load at the time when he was caught masturbating are more important.
All right, I have. This is the most popular question.
Okay.
You're right. Where did the load go?
A tissue.
Oh,
Very
okay.
simple.
My DPS is solid.
I mean, what do I know?
My DPS is better than their fucking healer. I mean, than my...
I think all of us already know the pattern, so let's start with something usual. Another year of wild begging and rage quitting. But what is different now is that the detractors thought of a new way to mess with Phil. See, Phil started to experience a new way of internet warfare, donation chargebacks. What does that mean? Well,
What?
some people
Oh,
started
no.
to donate large amounts of money to Phil, hundreds or sometimes thousands of dollars, only for them to later on file a chargeback complaint, basically refunding their money and stripping Phil of his donation. The goal of this is quite straightforward. Give Phil a false sense of financial security only to pull the plug and potentially endanger him. It is good to mention that things like this have happened before, but trolls have gotten smarter. See, if they filed a chargeback through PayPal, DSP would just dispute the claim and prove that the donations were legitimate. But now, the donators went straight to the credit card bank, claiming that the money was not authorized, effectively giving Phil no way to defend himself.
Jesus.
Worst of all, some of these donations were made through stolen credit cards. In one instance, a guy donated $1,200 only for him to make a chargeback. In 1 week, Phil lost almost $2,000.
So they're engaging in like actual illegal activity. They're stealing other people's credit cards and then donating to this guy. Jesus Christ, bro. Oh my god. Imagine I had a decent healer.
In donations through this tactic. All of this had an impact on his PayPal account, something that will be more clear as I tell this next story. DSP would order a PlayStation 5 on Amazon in September of 2020, but the way Amazon charges customers is not when you place an order, but rather when the item is sent out. So even though the order was made in September, Amazon charged him in November, but by that point he had so many chargebacks that his PayPal was suspended, basically forcing Amazon to delay his order. This upset Phil very much, because he needed to get PlayStation 5 on launch week for all the people that were going to watch him play it. This whole situation would cause a complete shit show. He would beg Amazon on the phone to hurry the fuck up with their order because he was a Twitch streamer. He had a reputation to uphold as a reputable gaming source. What will all the fans do with Phil not getting his PlayStation 5 as soon as possible? But after a massive battle, Phil did manage to get his...
I got my PlayStation 5, baby. I got my PlayStation 5, baby. Not too bad. You know, they forced me to buy it. It was like $800. I had to get the PlayStation 5. I had to get like the games with it. I had to get like a warranty. I had to get a controller. I had to get the, you know, but I wanted it for God of War, the new God of War. I know I could play it on PlayStation 4, but I wanted it on PS5. So it's sitting right next to me right here. And when I'm ready, I'll be opening, banging this puppy out. It's going to be good. It's going to be good.
PlayStation in time. Now tell me, how important is PlayStation 5 to a man who has accumulated over $130,000 in debt by this point? You might think that some stupid new console would get a backseat to more important things.
Probably,
well,
yeah.
rather than
True.
being a responsible adult, you know, restraining himself from buying stupid shit so that he can pay his bills to the bank, but no. Phil would rather file for bankruptcy. This is a real document.
Hey.
Phil unironically filed...
Listen, if I'm going to file for bankruptcy, at that point, I'm buying a bunch of bullshit. You know, or I'm buying whatever bullshit I feel like I could do. You know what I'm saying? I'm going bankrupt. Might as well buy that PS5. Hey, fuck it. What's another $500? You know, fuck it.
For bankruptcy to try to get himself out of a hole. For those of you who don't know what bankruptcy is, it is a legal proceeding initiated when a person or a business is unable to repay outstanding debts or obligations. The bankruptcy process begins with a petition filed by the debtor, which is most common, or on behalf of creditors, which is less common. All of the debtor's assets are measured and evaluated, and the assets may be used to repay.
Yeah, the new God of War is for the PS4 or the PS5. A lot of the new game. This has been a running problem for PlayStation. I don't know if it's an Xbox problem. I don't think it is, but like when the PS4 came out, they made games that were for both PS3 and 4 because like it was so unavailable. I don't know how they keep fucking these things up. My husband keeps asking for PS5 of God of War. I'm trying to get away with keeping. Yeah, no, you can get God of War for PS4. 100%. I'm not lying at all. You could pre-order it. You can get God of War Ragnarok for for the PlayStation 4. Look right here. This is PlayStation 4. God of War Ragnarok Launch Edition PlayStation 4 Sony. It's for PS4. Sorry to your husband for outing him, but you know. Sorry, husband. I told my wife, I said I said I want to get God of War. It's for the PS4 or 5, but I still want to buy the PS5. She's like, "Okay, whatever." You know what I mean? They just got to be transparent. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, be transparent. And you're all good.
Portion of the outstanding debt. Bankruptcy offers an individual or business a chance to start fresh by forgiving debts that simply cannot be paid, while giving creditors a chance to obtain some measure of repayment based on an individual's or business's assets available for liquidation. So it looks like Phil decided to try his luck on a shortcut. He's trying to find a way around his payment obligations by pulling this charade. This document must be seen to be believed. The amount of shit written here is truly staggering. I mean, let's take a look at some of the stuff Phil wrote down here so that you can get the true sense of this lunacy. There are a number of blatant lies in this document. For example, Phil said he doesn't have any pets, which is of course a lie, since we are all familiar with Jasper, the $1,000 cat. He also wrote that he didn't have any collectibles of value like figurines or paintings.
But then over here, I hung my Super Mario Bros. 3 artwork. So this is by Square Painter, the guy who I used to buy artwork from all the time, and I've given many plugs in my videos back in the day, but it's been quite a while.
I'm just fucking flabbergasted by the fact that I was just not getting heals there. Like, why play a fucking healer, dude? That's your whole fucking job, bro. Sorry, I'm just irritated. Like, we have a Lucio and somehow managed to not heal me. That doesn't make sense to me. You literally just stand next to me. Whatever. Sorry, I'm DSP.
I've been to any conventions or anything like that, and I certainly don't have any money to spend on this kind of stuff anymore.
He wrote down that he lives in a single-family home, but he actually lives in a condo. He didn't even list his PayPal details. I mean, shit like this can get you in prison for bankruptcy fraud. But Phil doesn't care, apparently. And oh my god, you have to see this. In the section where he specified his income, Phil wrote down that his business expenses are $5,243 per month. And someone tell me how a Twitch streamer can have $5,000 of expenses per month. Maybe Phil contract.
Yeah, it's like almost possible. I mean, damn, just got fucking named. I mean, you could have some expenses. Like, you would consider like part of the electric bill, part of your part of your electric bill, part of your internet bill, part of your house bill because you're doing it in the house, which means you can write off part of that. These are all things that you can consider part of your oil, part of your heating, part of your, I mean, really everything. I mean, if you're, take a piss while you're at work, but it wouldn't be $5,000 a month. That's fucking unhinged.
High-end prostitutes and then smokes some high-end crack with them and then thinks that this counts as a business expense. I honestly don't know how he could be spending this amount of money on video games. Looking at his Instagram and YouTube channel and considering that we are generous, Phil couldn't be possibly spending more than $400 a month. Even that is pushing it, but apparently...
Yeah, maybe a little more than that. But 500. Yeah, a little bit more than that. Jesus Christ. Just given the circumstances. Jesus Christ, sorry.
This is what Phil wrote down on a court document. On May 3rd, 2020, he had a hearing with the judge regarding his bankruptcy claim. Even here, the Citibank representative called him out on his business expense claim.
Like that. Reviewing your filing, it looks like you stated here that you have about $5,000 a month in business expenses. Can you itemize that for me?
Hold on. I'm not sure. Are you? I'm
calling out.
Really...
I'm calling representing Citibank. Yes, Citibank. What are you talking about?
Right. Are you an attorney or what's your position at Citibank or?
This seems like a sort of an attempt to back out of answering the very transparent question reviewing his files, which is that he has $5,000 a month in
Well, it sounds like somebody who there's none of their business to be asking that question. I don't even think Citibank would even ask that question. But okay. Like, what he's saying is perfectly valid. Oh, it sounds like you don't want to answer the question. Well, yeah, you wouldn't answer that question to somebody who's a nobody, you know what I mean? Which is what it seems like this person is. Nice. Which is just like somebody calling to try to investigate, which is fine. Do your thing, even though, I think you're impersonating somebody else. But, like, don't pretend that you have any actual authority here.
Despite this, his bankruptcy was actually approved, and he was cleared of $130,000 of that, despite conflicting...
Listen, if they're gonna fucking bail out the stock market, like the fucking Wall Street, they could bail out DarkSydePhil. I don't give a shit. I really don't care,
information, lies on official court documents and obvious attempts at fraud. I guess fortune favors the bold. But how could Phil not afford to pay his bills? In 2020, with all of his income combined, he was making more than $100,000 a year.
Really?
This is way above the average American household.
Damn.
This was also around the time where he had his vest streams. What I mean by this is that Phil was watching one of his older videos where he had this weird vest. One of the viewers asked him what happened to the vest, which caused Phil to go look for it, and true enough, he found it. This later...
That must have been a Gucci vest, $8,000 vest, bro. I've seen them before.
became something of a gag on his streams, where if the tip goal for the day was reached, he would put on a vest. Over 250 days of successful streaming followed, which he referred to as a vest streak, multiple days of exceeding tip goals, totaling over $25,000 in tips, and this guy filed for bankruptcy and somehow got approved?
Hey, that's cool. Maybe I should do a tip goal. That's an interesting idea. I'll shave an inch off my beard every day. I get $1,000 on the stream. And then eventually, like, I'll go, dude, he's not dead? Holy fuck. Dude, I'm gonna fart my pants.
So a $1 million question is, how does Phil not have the money? Where does he spend it all? To answer this question, we first must take a look at one particular mobile game.
WWE Champions? Dude, where the fuck is my healing?
WWE.
There's two healers standing next to me. And it's like the fucking... I don't get it. That was a bad ult. That's my bad. Jesus Christ. Sorry, guys.
Champions is a professional wrestling, fast-paced, match-3 puzzle role-playing mobile game based
by
on
them?
a World Wrestling Entertainment, where you use and unlock WWE wrestlers. As one might guess, like any other mobile game, it is massively structured around microtransactions, as you gamble away your pain in the hope of getting some famous wrestlers to use in your playthrough. Basically, the game is playing into your dopamine addiction so that you become obsessed with its gambling system. In an idealistic world, games like these would be banned and the people who make them would be thrown straight into jail, but we don't live in that world, so we have to put up with it. So why did I tell you about this? That is because users from Kiwi Farms found a particular profile on WWE Champions Discord server called They Call Me DSP. This user was linked to an actual WWE Champions profile in the mobile game. This is important because people did some calculations based on this profile's level and VIP level, taking into account years of subscriptions and other aspects. It was calculated that the person who owns this profile has spent around $40,000 on WWE Champions. As you might guess, if this profile really is from our dear...
That's crazy. You know, I have a friend and his stepdad actually spends, like, makes a lot of money. He makes like $500,000 a year apparently, but he spends 20 grand a month on Diablo Immortals. How fucking crazy is that? And it's crazy is if you have money, it's not considered an addiction, but if you don't have money, it is. You know what I mean? Like, but that's fucking unhinged. Yo, push the cart, you fat fuck. Talking to myself a little.
DSP, then this would be a complete travesty for his reputation. Not even he could recover from this. A guy filing for bankruptcy because he claims to have no money but can afford to spend thousands of dollars on mobile games would be a death blow. But hey, you are innocent until proven guilty, and Phil sure did declare his innocence.
How do I just prove something that's blatantly false?
Bro,
there's no evidence
point.
of it existing, they just made it up. You know? It's the same thing with all these things that happen to me. There's nothing I can do. I wish that I could, you know,
so
disprove
it's
all
not
the shit they
confirmed.
say. I can't. If they just make shit up, there's no way that I can have evidence to show
Even if
you
it's real, I
that
just
it's
don't
not
care.
true. You know what I mean?
He denied it vigorously on his streams and videos, saying it was yet another unfounded rumor spread around by his detractors. Okay, so let's try to do some investigation and see if we can connect the dots. Phil does in fact have a history of being addicted to mobile games, something he has admitted.
Alright, bro, listen, it might be his, it might not. Like, again, the allegations go out of control. Because if anything, you're going to be like, well, he does have a history of overspending, big poor spending, and, you know, this, that, and the other thing. It's like, so then it adds up. Yeah, sure, so a troll of DSP would know how to make up a really good lie about it. And they would know how to make it seem like he was lying, or make it seem like it's more believable because of it. So, you know, there's the other side of the argument. Come on, bro, where's my heels? I didn't do anything.
Some people draw a pattern of addiction when watching some of his streams, saying that Phil probably has some sort of gambling problem. It is also interesting that whenever there was an event in WWE Champions, Phil would go on a begging stream.
Okay, just really quick. My healers are doing 4,500 and 5K healing. Their healers are doing 8 and 9K. Like, I'm just having a rough day today, guys. I'm having a rough fucking day, okay? Thank God my DPS, I got a guy doing 9 fucking K, because their DPS is doing 5K at most. But god damn, bro. Jesus. Maybe that's why they're healing so much, because we're doing so much damage. I don't know.
When you look at some of the examples, this claim seems strangely consistent. Keep in mind that all Phil has to do is log into his own WWE Champions account and show that his real account is not the one that people are investigating. This is...
Yeah, but that's personally, I wouldn't do that if I could prove it like that, because it's just obnoxious that you can make any claim you want just so that you can have access to, like, oh, well, you have to show, like, be able to, like, violate, like, my personal boundary. Oh, well, if you want to prove yourself innocent, go open up your phone and do this. It's like, no, like, just the fuck out of here. It's insane. People are fucking unhinged. Nuts. Oh, fucking Jesus.
Is a fairly simple and easy action that would completely vindicate Phil from all of these rumors.
Snooty Rude at 100-bit cheer. Well, can't you just log into your WWE game account and hold your phone up to the camera and disprove detractors? Oh my god. Boy, people don't listen, but this is the thing. Real gullible, stupid, simple-minded people think it's that easy.
So rather than doing that, Phil would rather explain why he won't do it. The pile of evidence is slowly stacking against Phil, and he sure as shit is not helping the situation. If you think this stops here, you are not paying attention.
so far, there's literally no evidence somebody in this situation. I mean, fucking Jesus.
Users at Kiwi Farms actually developed an algorithm that analyzes two texts to see how probable it is that the same person wrote them. For example, you know how your friends have different catchphrases or ways of texting that makes them unique in such a way that you know it is them. The messages from this Discord were compared to the tweets that DSP posts, and the algorithm concluded that there is a high chance that the two texts are written by the same person. Want more? How about this? There is an undercover spy in...
Sounds a little bit like a little bit weird. Sounds like an... Oh, get over here, bitch. Can you really trust that? Okay, whatever.
Phil's moderator Discord server. The said spy provided the screenshot of DSP's actual Discord profile. The user ID of the DSP's actual profile matches with the ID number of the Discord profile that owns WWE Champion's account. Now, sure, this is a pretty damning evidence, and still, Phil has not produced anything to help his case. Instead,
that's not really damning evidence to me. It's that's not really damning evidence to me. They potentially made an algorithm that like might be trusted. I mean, it's a Kiwi Farms. Kiwi Farms is abysmal dog shit, let's be honest. Okay.
Does, which is cry at the camera.
That's the thing, at this point, I can't even figure out what the meme is, because people now tell me it could be this one WWE game that I played years ago, or a WWE game that I played for a few months, a couple years ago. I don't even know what the fuck they're talking about anymore.
I mean, sure, the pictures could be altered, even though the likelihood of that is very slim. Looking at WWE Champions for a moment, the game supports guilds. It works in a way that if you are part of a guild, there is an opportunity to conduct joint fights in tournaments or temporary events against other guilds. Alliance members have the ability to receive and send gifts, and you can also earn experience for each guild to make it stronger. I just said this because the supposed fake account was part of the guild called Useless. The private information of other members was exposed online due to the attention this account attracted, which resulted in this account being kicked out of the clan. The said account tried to change its name to The Gun Show 84, but the profile is easily trackable due to the amount of progress it had because of the spent money. The Discord name was also changed. It's almost like someone was trying to hide their tracks. But the absolute finisher, the last puzzle piece to fall into place to prove without a doubt that this is indeed DSP's account, happened on December 11th. In one of the guilds that
What happened? Did the character, like... My wife's so cute. Oh, my wife got such... She has such nice nails. Oh, my wife sent me a picture. I like the nails. Love the nails, babe. Let me send her a Snapchat of my cock. Just kidding. Yeah, so what happened? Did somebody see his dick pic in the fucking thing or something?
WWE profile was in, they used a program called Line, which is something similar to WhatsApp and Telegram. It is basically a freeware app for instant communication on electronic devices, such as smartphones and personal computers. Now, what is important is that the supposed fake profile registered his phone number with this application. Now, it is also important to mention that the real DSP's personal information got leaked years before. This information included his own personal phone number. Now, if we enter Phil's actual phone number into the Line app, we will get... They call me DSP. This is undeniable proof that the WWE profile is DSP's. I don't think you understand how severe this is. Before we get started, I think we should talk about how insane DSP...
This just sounds really overcomplicated. What I'm hearing here, maybe I'm getting it wrong, this matters so very little, is that he uses the name They Call Me DSP, which seems to be a pretty public name, and somebody potentially might have just taken that name from him. Or maybe it's his. It could. I just care so very little. Like, I get it. He shouldn't. He's really bad with his money, and he shouldn't be fucking going bankrupt. But I just don't care. I live in like the real world. People do shitty things all the time. There are people like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not great. I just don't fucking care about this. Like, oh my god, he might have gone bankrupt after spending $40,000 on a game. Yeah, it sounds like what an idiot. What a stupid fuck. But I'm not really shitting my pants.
is when we take a look at this account's activity. The WWE Champion's profile is always playing this fucking game. There are never 3 whole hours without logging in. He's always playing it well into the night and early morning. The person that owns this account needs professional help. Imagine not being able to sleep so that you can play a mobile game. Phil lies to his audience so that he can scam them out of money to fuel his gambling addiction. I don't even think I want to call this gambling. In actuality, gambling means having a chance to win money. DSP is gambling with literal air. He might as well burn the money in a furnace to get warm. There is no way of getting out of this one. This is the lowest DSP has ever gotten, but this won't be the last.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, if his phone number got leaked, wouldn't he have changed his phone number? Maybe somebody else just got a hold of it, and I don't know how they would. And they made the account. I mean, I guess it just really doesn't matter because this is very insignificant. Yeah.
We heard of WWE champions. On On September 18th, 2021, someone managed to get access to DSP's bank records. Please keep in mind that this wasn't a hack, unlike what other people might say. A person at Kiwi Farms contacted Bank of America and, through social engineering and many loopholes, managed to get his personal banking records. It
sounds very illegal, so cool.
It's important to remember that
It's like very obsessed, unhinged, and it sounds like illegal activity, because it sounds like they impersonated somebody that was like close to DSP or something, so okay, that's shitty.
behavior is abhorrent and should not be encouraged. The only real lesson here is to avoid creating an account with Bank of America. Now that I've cleared that up, let's take a look at these records to see how Phil uses his money. Another user made a simple pie chart to help us visualize this information. What I'm about to show you are Phil's spending records from May 17th to September 17th of 2021. So in 4 months, Phil has spent $1,062 on alcohol. On restaurants, he spent $2,358. We are all aware of Phil's exquisite appetite, a man with a crippling amount of debt who somehow prefers to eat luxurious meals and drinks expensive alcohol, but to spend over $3,000 on these things in 4 months. I mean, is Phil some kind of feudal master? Oh wait, it gets much better. Mortgage payments, $7,397.51, taxes, $4,799.64, and groceries, $3,930.88. And at the end, we do have a cherry on the cake. WWE champions, $8,225.62. Look at this graph. DSP is spending more money on WWE champions than he did on mortgage.
All right, well, if this is real and it's not just like a fake thing, that would be proof that he's spending that much money on W. But I feel like this, part of me feels like this isn't real because these breakdowns aren't this specific. I don't think that this is real. I use Citibank. The breakdowns aren't that specific. They'll usually like label it like entertainment or something or some kind of media. Like they're not going to be like WWE champion specifically, you know? Could be wrong. Kind of feels like it's not true. Okay.
More than he spent on alcohol, groceries and restaurants combined. But still, if we take a more detailed look at some of these transactions, we will notice that on May 17th, there were a lot of payments made from PayPal for $110.09. How many purchases? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 purchases for $110.09. Now, that's a strange number, you might think to yourself. What does that mean? Well, Phil resides in Seattle, which is located in the state of Washington. PayPal Washington state sales tax is 10.1%. So subtracting that from $110.09 leaves us with $99.99. Now all we have to do is take a look at what event happened in WWE Champions around this time, and we will get, isn't it depressing, that this man is willing to enter into bankruptcy in order to continue his destructive gambling addiction. I wonder what Cat thinks.
Must be a good game. I'm gonna go try it, honestly. Seems like it'd be pretty good.
About all of this. So Phil, after all of this undeniable evidence, will you please, for once in your life, admit to the problem and come clean?
Alright, I'm just gonna say as briefly as I can, as summarized as I can, to let you know what's going on. And then we're gonna move on. Okay? Over the last week, it has come to my attention and my knowledge finally that I have been subject to the crime of identity theft.
Whoa. I guess it is rather a time to victimize yourself.
That would be
a federal crime.
That would be the crime. That was a really good ult from me. I feel like I didn't get enough fucking backup there.
By the way, this is something that's incredibly serious. This is not just a little, oh, someone's trolling on the internet.
Of course, what was I expecting? But his banking details were not the only thing that was revealed to us. In 2021, one of the biggest Twitch hacks happened. As a result, income information from many streamers was leaked. This presented a big problem for some of them, since acting to be poor was proven to be a winning strategy on Twitch. Just pretend that you don't have that much money so that the audience can sympathize with you.
I don't know if that many people acted poor. DSP might have done that. I don't know how many actual creators did that, though. But okay.
With you. So of course, one of the exposed incomes was DSP's. He earned more than $55,000 in 1 year. It is a very decent amount of money when you think about it. Phil was making it quite big in the streaming industry, but the benefits of this platform would soon be out of DSP's reach. On April 21st, 2021, Phil Burnell officially lost his partnership with Twitch.
Right in the middle of me streaming, I'm kicked out of the Twitch partner program. Inexplicably.
Damn,
there was no explanation at all. It was just an email I received from Partnership Removals saying notice of indefinite suspension and termination for DarkSydePhil, saying that my partnership is indefinitely suspended and terminated. Period.
Now, it is good to add that this isn't what you might call a ban. Phil lost the ability to make money through Twitch. There were no longer bits or subscriptions, but he could theoretically still stream and gain money solely through donations. But nevertheless, this was a huge blow, since Twitch was one of the major income sources for Phil. If you remember, Phil once had to leave Twitch because of a fight with moderators. He came back a few years later because he saw the benefit of this site. But this really was the last nail in the coffin. Phil was truly done with Twitch once and for all. But the question remains, why was DSP banned? Well, it is hard to say. Phil broke so many Twitch rules over the years, it is hard to pinpoint what exactly caused Twitch's decision to terminate their part.
Yeah, and they're probably not going to be super transparent about the specific reason. Somebody on our team left. I'm going to play some tank I don't give a fuck about to practice or something. I'll play the monkey. But yeah, they're never transparent about like anything when it comes down to it. It's kind of lame.
Partnership now, but at the very least, we can speculate. One of the reasons could be that he broke the 24-hour exclusivity rule. This basically means when you stream on Twitch, the video of that stream cannot be uploaded to any other site in the next 24 hours, but Phil always immediately uploaded the video on YouTube right after streaming. Maybe it was because of his political beliefs, or the most probable reason is for doxing. This is a
yeah, although I will say one thing. I mean, if he's making 50 grand on Twitch per year, I mean, like, I don't know if I've ever made that much money on Twitch in a year, so... I made like $1 grand a month when I was on there, but I wouldn't care about that. I would like wait till the next day, but like if I streamed until 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I would always release my videos around 12, so I didn't really give a shit, you know.
Serious problem that DSP is well known for, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. On March 16th, 2021, an ex-DSP mod called That Annoy Mouse leaked the entire DSP modded Discord server. Battered wife, That Annoy Mouse here. Our friend Phil Burnell has been doing some deplorable things. This thread is to get it all out there before Phil can get ahead of the story and spin the narrative any way he chooses. He's already made it clear that even if the WWE Champion's conspiracy is true, that it doesn't matter, and his fanbase will accept that. If you're gonna shoot to kill his career, you need real ammunition. Doxing his own fans, stringing along veils, insulting mods, and chatters demanding private chat logs between his mods, and chatters belittling victims of child sexual abuse. So one of DSP's ex-mods revealed information about his secret mod server, where he and his mods discussed detractors, fanbase, and other work-related topics. But that is not as important as all the shady shit that is happening here. The links to YouTube videos that show these chats in the post have mysteriously been taken down. Now that sure is strange. Who would do something like this? It's almost like someone is trying to cover their tracks. But we still have a few screenshots left, and that is more than enough. This is part of the post from Kiwi Farms. While Phil has never expressed remorse for the constant doxing of his mods and fans, he has maintained the veil of innocence that he was never directly involved in sharing or discussing his viewers' private information. Here is the message Phil delivered in the mod Discord, showing us the driver's license for a banned user, who had it implied towards him that providing this would give him an unban. Keep in mind that Phil was in the forefront of fighting swatters.
Sorry.
Towards him that providing this would give
While Phil had never expressed remorse for the conduct of mods of fans, even insulting them, he has maintained the veil of innocence.
Give him an unban. Keep in mind that Phil was in the forefront of fighting swatters, saying how deplorable they were because...
So, like, what was he doing? Was he getting people that were, like, detractors, doxed? Was he having them being doxed or something? Like, I'm not understanding exactly what's going on here.
He himself
people who are like harassing him. I guess I just don't care if they're harassing him and he's harassing them back. I just don't care about any of it.
Was a victim of them. Yet here he is, doxing his own fans. As you might guess, when this information first came up, our dear friend panicked a little. I mean, this is a bit of a fuck up, don't you think? That Annoy Mouse provided a plethora of evidence and screenshots of all the shady shit this server has been up to. It has to be read to be believed. But if you want to investigate more of this drama, I will leave this Kiwi Farm post. We could conclude that this dox attempt by Phil might have been the very reason for his partnership to be terminated. And with that, I think it would be good to point
if nobody knew about it, then I don't think it would be, right?
out that we are slowly reaching the end of this video. We looked at all the things Phil did in 2021, but how is he currently doing? How is the current year going for him?
It was an X-mod, or he was doxing X-mods? Why?
Why don't we take a look? First of all, it seems like WWE Champion scandal is all everyone is talking about. As one might guess, this fuck up by Phil will haunt him for a long time. Other than this, it is the usual. Phil is still massively begging for money. He hasn't learned anything about financing and is losing money on the most stupid shit. For example, he
yeah, when you charge it to your thing, wouldn't it just come up as an iTunes charge?
Has 2 internet and phone lines. As one might expect, the amount of e-begging has increased.
What game is this? It looks really cringe.
Tenfold, owing primarily to the loss of the Twitch partner.
What the fuck game is this? What the fuck is this? Find a way to remove the second magic gate in the mystical cove. This is so cringe.
He decided to do a clean out of his closet, but with a camera, proving even more that he has hit rock bottom in terms of what he thinks good content is, although I'm not sure how amazing cleaning a closet can be. Maybe he's trying to rebrand himself as a $15 Tomb Raider, but
I'm almost done. I'll come out there.
I really don't know. Let's beat the dead horse for the last time and let's add this little detail. On his YouTube channel, Phil has uploaded a certain video called The Daily Wrap, July 23rd, 2022. Here he's seen playing with Jasper, the $1,000 cat. Now, what is important is this.
Jasper, the $1,000 cat.
If you stretch your eyes, you will see that Phil has something opened on his phone. Some sort of application. What could it be? Phil really is.
Not for nothing. Oh, I guess this fits phone's upside down. I guess that could be it. Might be it.
A joke that keeps on giving. His life is almost application. Yeah. If you stretch you, here Phil has up. Don't know. Let's beat the dead horse for the last time and let's add this $15 Tomb Raider. But I really don't know. Let's.
Maybe. I'm just trying to see.
Let's beat the dead horse for the last time and let's add this little detail. On his YouTube channel, Phil has uploaded a certain video called The Daily Wrap, July 23rd, 2020.
I don't remember why, but he would ask them for a pic of their license to unban them and remod them and how they would get that. Interesting. That's weird.
22. Here he's seen playing with Jasper, the $1,000 cat. Now, what is important is this. If you stretch your eyes, you will see that Phil has something opened on his phone. Some sort of application. What could it be? Phil really is a...
Yeah, I mean, it looks like it. It looks like that thing.
Joke that keeps on giving. His life is almost...
Well, him having the game downloaded doesn't mean that he spent 40 grand on it, but okay.
Almost like a TV show. But despite all of this, decades of lies, begging, and overall awful behavior, Phil outlived all of his detractors in the past and will probably outlive all the existing ones. If I have to give credit where credit is due, then this would be it. If nuclear war broke out tomorrow, Phil would wake up in his ruined apartment, search through the rubble for his camera, find a working Wi-Fi connection, and begin streaming, where he would beg his audience for extra support because he would need it for the impending nuclear winter. If the education had a face, it would
so far from everything I've seen, I just don't care that
be the
much
face of
about...
Phil Burnell. Many people come to many different conclusions when they watch the story of DSP. Most of them will think of him as something of a leech, someone who is jumping from one sinking ship to the next, clinging onto anything that would keep him.
I think he's just kind of a fucking idiot. I just don't care. Like, I feel like there's a lot of pearl clutching and the bad things he's done. The only one that's like a little sussy is that he might have dated a girl when they were 17, which is weird, and I don't agree with that. But like, again, if it's like legal in his state, I can understand why he thinks that's appropriate. And that's more of a conversation about why that's is legal in his state. Because unfortunately, that's the problem. Laws are what raise us. So if your law says this is appropriate, then you grow up thinking things like that are appropriate. That's what we call like a systemic issue, right? So...
from getting a real job. Some of them might be genuine fans of his work, thinking that every controversy has been vastly exaggerated and how the cards are always stacked against him. But only a few will look behind the veil, and there they will find a cautionary tale of someone who might have made it big, someone who, if he played his cards right and did not extort his community so much, could have been a reputable member of the gaming community.
But I guess he seems to have, there's a few areas where he kind of got fucked over, it feels like, you know, with some of like the money stuff, like where he lost like monetization because he was asking people to watch ads.
But unfortunately, the bloated ego and the unhealthy mindset have put him on the throne of this empty empire on which DSP currently stands.
Wow. Yeah, DSP seems like your average shitty dumb person. Yeah, there's a lot of people like that. Like whatever. All right. I mean, either way, the video itself was put together really well. It was really solid, really in depth. I just feel like people are overreacting to DSP. I just don't think he's that big of a deal, or like that's that big of a deal. Still a good video, still a good watch, still enjoyed it. Everyone, thank you so much for watching, and a special shout out to all my Patreon patrons, my YouTube members, and my Twitch subs. If you'd like to learn how you can contribute even more than you already are by simply watching the video, you can check the links down below, which will unlock a special feature depending on the platform that you subscribe to, such as Patreon here that will get your name right here on this wall. Thank you so much, guys, again for watching, and have a good one.